What's up, everybody? It's the Apothecary here with yet another podcast. We're already off to a very good and fitting start here. So now it is December, and you know how I always say, today we have a very special episode for you. Well, that's going to be even more true for the rest of this month, because if you follow the official Instagram account, which if you don't, then you should, I posted a thing recently about how December is going to be a special month. December is going to be a retrospective month, where every episode this month, we're going to look back at something from this year or this decade or just something, like a long-running thing or just something we're going to look back on in some way. And we're going to start that off by looking back at the biggest cinematic thing of this decade, which is the Infinity Saga, the MCU. Just looking back at that in retrospective and talking about just the whole thing. It's going to be really fun. I've been waiting to do this episode for a long time, so I'm really excited. And I'm even more excited because today we have a very special guest with us. My dear good friend, Mr. Timmy Cofield. How you doing?
What's up, Jackson? The Apothecary. Thank you for having me on.
And he is. I'm the Apothecary. He is the Pharaoh. Yes. Today, the name of the podcast is the Apothecary and the Pharaoh.
Oh, that flows off the tongue,
right?
So well.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's
it's
beautiful.
It's like a classic podcast duo name.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. This is a podcast, not like morning radio shows. They're actually quality content.
Yeah, we're not fucking Opie and Anthony in this bitch. We're actually fucking quality content.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I like to think I bring the quality on a weekly basis, but he's gonna double it.
Of course.
So prepare yourselves, because this is gonna be a hell of an episode.
Yeah, nerd shit.
Yeah,
all around.
All about that nerd shit. It's probably gonna be a long one too.
Yeah.
We got a lot of ground to cover. But we're gonna go through this as quickly as we can, while also talking about it as much as we want to.
Right.
Hopefully we can get both of those done at the same time. So, before we go into the actual movies, first of all, let's just talk about, let's just establish a timeline here.
Okay.
Where we were when these movies began. Where were you when these movies began?
Oh, shit. Okay, so I'm trying to think. So, obviously, the Infinity Saga, that starts off with Iron Man, right?
Yes.
So, I'm trying to think, and it's... For those who don't know, I was very late to the party. Not just Marvel, but nerd shit in general. So I'm trying to think where I was when this started. But I honestly cannot remember. I think the first movie that I saw was Avengers. Was the first one that I saw, and I saw that in the theaters. And I was in high school, maybe.
Wow, it was that late?
Yeah, maybe middle school. It was very late.
I guess that came out in 2012. Yeah, so that would have been.
Shit, yeah, I was in high school.
That would have been high school time. Yeah.
I was super late.
Man.
I think I saw Thor. Thor might have been the first one that I saw.
Ah.
So, yeah.
So, and just what was your, state of nerdiness at the time?
My state of
and,
nerdiness...
what was your reaction to, watching your first one?
So, I was very, 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 my nerdiness was super limited. At that time, my nerdiness was limited to, Dragon Ball Z and Spider-Man and Star Wars, kind of, but I still haven't really seen any of the movies of Star Wars in full.
We're gonna fix that before Rise of Skywalker.
Please do. And but I love Spider-Man, I love Batman, and a couple other Marvels. Well, Hulk was a big one for me too. Mm-hmm. So by the time the first movie I saw was Thor, and I didn't know much about Thor. I knew Vikings were sick as hell, and Chris Hemsworth is a beautiful man.
Very beautiful.
So I was just all right, let's try and fix this nerdy stuff. Because luckily I had people like you and Sam and James and Jordan, a bunch of people that were mega nerds. So they made me want to go see the movies because y'all fucking talked about it all the time. So I'm I feel left out. I want to know who Thor is and Captain America and Iron Man. So it was very low nerdy level, and it changed as I watched Thor, for sure. I have fucking 2 Mjolnirs at my house.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because you could just have one, but you have 2. A true testament to your nerdiness.
Right, and I'm eventually I saw this cute ass Mjolnir pendants. It's like on a necklace on this website, superherostuff.com. This is where I get most of my nerd shit.
Yeah.
Mostly because they actually have 4X shirts, which is massive for me. So I'm going to get that eventually. And also an Avengers pendant, because it's like the A and it's red. It's very fucking cool.
And now you got to get a Stormbreaker, too.
Yes.
To have your Thor collection be complete.
Shit,
You got to get a Stormbreaker.
I also need, they have like some Stark Industries sweatpants. Dog.
Oh, Lord.
I need that.
That would be very nice to see. Collecting the nerd memorabilia. That's what you got to do if you're a fan.
It's going to be thick inventory.
Right. Well, yeah, that's interesting.
Your nerd level?
And yeah, okay. So I was an established nerd. I was an established comic, fan by the time these came out. And I was 11 when the first Iron Man came out, and I remember. I was a huge fan of the Avengers already. The way I was introduced to the Avengers was, of all things, I got as a random Christmas gift one year, a direct-to-video Avengers movie. It was the Ultimate Avengers 2. Not even the first one; it was the second one. And I'd never heard of the Avengers before then. I knew who a lot of those heroes were,
right, but
I didn't know who the Avengers were. And I watched that. And I was obsessed with that movie. I loved it. And so from that point on, I grew to know more about who the Avengers were. And so then when Iron Man came out, well, here's the thing. It's crazy to think about this, but there was a time, believe it or not, when we didn't know about post-credit scenes in Marvel movies. And normally, if you know about them, like younger people are the ones who know about them, and they have to tell their parents to stay.
Right.
And I was too young to know, and my parents didn't know. So I didn't stick around for the post-credit scene for Iron Man when that came in theaters. So I didn't know the Avengers were happening until the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
But when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, they're doing the Avengers. Because that was actually in the movie, not a post-credit scene where he says we're putting a team together.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit, they're gonna do the Avengers. But yeah, when Iron Man came out, the Avengers was not, like, them doing an Avengers movie was not something that I thought, like, could be real, It was, like, something that I knew they could do, but, like, the idea of it happening was just so, crazy, because nothing like that had ever been done before. We'd never had a team-up movie like that before. So I just enjoyed Iron Man, and I guess this is a good transition point to go ahead and start talking about the movies in order. We'll go ahead and talk about Iron Man now. I remember being 11, going to see that in theaters, and just that being the only one. That was the only one I ever saw where I wasn't thinking about the future of the cinematic universe. I was just, because I didn't know it was happening yet. I was just like, this is Iron Man. A character who I know well. I've seen him before in a lot of stuff, but I don't know him as well as like Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four or a lot of those guys.
Right.
So it was cool seeing a movie about him. I was very excited to watch it. And yeah, obviously, as a kid, I loved that movie, but now, 11 years later, it's even better to me than it was then.
That shit is excellent.
Because
Iron Man is still, like, to me, one of the best movies in the entire MCU.
It's one of the best superhero movies ever, I would say.
Yes.
Like, it's really up there with all of the greats because, like, not only is it just a phenomenal movie, it could stand on its own as, like, a phenomenal movie. Because it's so well made, and the thing that makes it, the two main things that make it, because it's got a lot of great qualities, the two main things that make that movie are Jon Favreau's exhilarating direction.
Yeah.
I think he was the guy for that. We owe him so much because
he knew what he was doing.
If he didn't do that as well as he did, if he didn't make it as electric and pulse pounding and like big as it was, it wouldn't have jump started the universe properly.
Right.
And that because that was the thing, like it can stand on its own, but it also deserves a lot of credit for just being the thing that jump-started the whole thing, because that so easily could have failed, especially at that time when nobody really knew what a cinematic universe was.
Right.
So there's that, and then also the other thing that made it, that you really needed for it to succeed, was the comeback of the century performance from fucking Robert Downey Jr.
Excellent.
And I always thought it was so cool the way they cast him, because at the time, believe it or not, the guy they were considering for the part was Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise was like their first choice.
Shit.
I know. And like, I see where they were going with that. Like, I understand their mindset, but that would not have worked.
Nah.
Like, even if you could theoretically, which you couldn't, but even if you could theoretically get him to commit to 11 years worth of movies, like, I know he's done like 6 Mission Impossibles.
Right.
But those are way more spaced out.
Yes.
And they've been going on for 20 years instead of just 11.
Yeah.
You know? But even if you could get him to commit, it just wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
He didn't have the right qualities, whereas... So he was their choice, right? And then Robert Downey Jr., who had been trying so hard to make a comeback for the few years before, because, you know, he had his drug problems, he was in and out of jail, but he had gotten his act together, and he was trying to make a comeback. But it wasn't working because nobody was seeing any of this, because he did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he did Zodiac, you know, he was doing all these movies, Good Night and Good Luck, but nobody was really seeing, it wasn't working. And so here he comes, he's still just trying to make it work, and I remember reading a thing where he said normally he's a lot more nervous when going into auditions, but he said for that one he wasn't nervous at all, because he knew in his bones that he was right for this part, and he was going to go in and he was going to nail it. And he said he went and he nailed his audition, but even then, a lot of the producers, they weren't sure about him.
Yeah.
Because of his reputation. And because he wasn't like a bankable star, and they felt they needed a bankable star to jumpstart this massive franchise they were planning.
Right.
And so they're like, are we sure we want Downey? You know, like, what about his problems in the past? Are we sure that's not going to be an issue? And Jon Favreau says that's why he's perfect for the part, because that's Tony Stark. Because he understands better than anybody, you know, what Tony Stark feels, because he's lived it in real life. You know, that's why he's going to make this so great. And he was right.
Yes.
So thank you to Jon Favreau for recognizing that. And also, while we're at it, if we're giving credit for casting, shout out to Sarah Haley Finn, I believe is her name, the casting director who cast every single one of the MCU movies. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the MCU movies have one of the most perfect track records for casting.
Yeah, dude.
Ever. They always get it spot on accurate.
Everyone looks like what they're supposed to. They act them out faithful to the comics. They look the part. They feel the part.
Yeah. It has one of the best track records ever. They always get it exactly right. So shout out to her for...
Works fucking hard. God damn.
Honestly.
It's commendable.
Right. Very, very commendable. Because then we wouldn't have gotten stuff like this, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so those are the things that made this work. And then you've got just so many positive qualities. And it's so amazing to me how this movie really, truly, it's amazing how it came together the way it did. Mm-hmm. It shows you Jon Favreau knows how to perform.
Yes.
You know, he knows how to deliver. Lion King notwithstanding. But when he's actually trying to make a movie and not a VFX demo reel. Because this movie, for the whole shooting, you know, for the whole time they were shooting it, it didn't have a script really. They kept rewriting the script like crazy. Mm-hmm. Everybody, all the insiders who were like saying stuff to the you know, the media outlets, they were saying it's a mess. There's no script. It's like it's going to be a disaster. And they were just kind of making it up as they went along. And then it came out in theaters, and everyone was like, that was fucking incredible.
Yep.
What were they talking about, you know? It's amazing that it came together so well, because you would have no idea. It flows so well. It has such a great script, such a great story. It, like, you know, it tells his origin story perfectly.
Yes.
You know?
It was also historically good, too, because this was, like, a lot of, like... what's the word, nationalism going on. Mm-hmm. So they kind of capitalize on like the terrorist fear and all that of like him fighting, like when Tony Stark is trapped in the cave and he's like fighting for his life, and he realizes how his weapons are being used and everything. And so like people can relate to that. It's like it was a genuine fear.
And it shows how long it's been since that came out.
Yeah.
Because you look back at that movie and you remember like, I remember back then. It makes me remember what life was like back then, where everybody was so concerned about the Iraq War and all that.
Yeah.
And that played so heavily into the movie where he's over there in the cave and everything. And it just shows you, like, geez, this is what was going on when this started.
Mm-hmm.
Look at where we're at now. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and it's because in the comics that wasn't the case. It was a different setting. But they updated it, and they made it work.
Yep.
You know?
It felt natural.
It did. It was a natural update. And, yeah, that's the thing, man. It's like, so much of the beginning of that movie, like the first half hour at least, you know, is just the cave.
Yeah.
But the pacing feels so right.
Yeah.
You know? They spend such a good amount of time on that, and then he comes back to America, and then the Iron Man shit starts. It's so well paced, which is why it's so crazy to me that the script was so all over the place, you know? It hits all the right beats at all the right moments.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it owes so much to Jon Favreau's direction. He knew exactly the tone that was needed. He knew, and it's weird because, like, they're not afraid to take risks now and be dark, but it's different because Infinity War and Endgame were dark movies.
Yes.
But, like, you look at the first Iron Man, it's significantly different in tone than any movie that came after it. Where it didn't really follow the MCU formula as much. There were a lot of adult things about it. You look at a lot of it, like him just sleeping around and, you know, drinking and doing all that. They might not emphasize that so heavily in, like, later movies.
Right.
You know? Just the wild, crazy tone of his Playboy lifestyle was so played up and everything. And there were just a lot of things that, like, it's not that kids wouldn't be able to follow it. It's just more adult than a lot of the later movies were.
Right.
And
so this is like pre-MCU identity as well.
Right. And you know, that's the thing about Phase 1 is everybody argues about, like, what the best phase is. Phase 1 is my favorite phase. I know that's a hot take, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. Phase 1 to me had the best track record.
Yes.
It was never just, like, trying to jam in references, and I know that's because none of them had come together yet. But each movie just felt like its own thing.
Yes.
They didn't need to intrude upon each other.
Yes.
They all felt like, you know, they all had their own special feel, and there wasn't, to me, again, hot take. This is the only phase without a single bad movie or, like, subpar movie.
Ah, yeah, you're right. You're 100%
This is
right.
both of the other phases, there's at least one that I think is, like, subpar. This one, all of them slapped to me. All of them slapped to me.
Yeah, they're all very good. They're all good.
And this one is one of the best, you know? It just did everything right. The direction was so on point. The story was so great. Like, all of the characters were super interesting. Like, Tony, of course, was a very interesting character. 11 years strong, and we all still love Pepper.
Yes.
You gotta love Pepper.
Fucking Pepper.
And y'all stop being mean to Gwyneth Paltrow, please.
What? Why are we being mean to Gwyneth Paltrow?
People have been mean to Gwyneth Paltrow for decades for no reason.
Why? What did she do?
I don't know. People just don't like her for no reason.
Shit.
It's always been the case. And, like, I mean, she's so great as an actress. Like, I mean, sure, she's a little, like, you know, ditzy sometimes. She doesn't know she's in certain movies, but, like, I mean, come on, cut her some slack. Like, a lot of people don't know what movies, you know, that they're in sometimes.
Right.
I never got, like, why everyone hated her so much. And she's so great in all of the movies. This one in particular, I thought she was super great. Jeff Bridges is the Iron Dude. Fucking gotta love him. Yeah. And to me, like, because that's the thing that people complained about a lot before Phase 3 was the villains.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
the evil version of the main character.
And that's what he is. He's just an asshole in a suit, and
Yes.
then he's just the evil version of the main character. But to me, for a lot of those earlier villains, it's all about just how much the actor brought to the performance.
Yes.
Jeff Bridges brought a lot to this performance.
Mm-hmm.
And as a fan of the characters from the comics, you know, he did the Ironmonger justice, I thought, and that was cool to see.
Right.
Because a lot of people say he's just a big, clunkier version of Iron Man. Yeah, but first of all, that doesn't necessarily... I mean, okay, maybe he's not special. He's no Thanos.
Right.
But, like, it doesn't make him bad. I think they did a good job adapting him, and I think Jeff Bridges did a good job making him interesting enough, making him very believable as this really smarmy, evil kind of like corporate like villain. So
that scene where they're like taking all the pictures and he grabs like Tony by the neck and he's like saying shit to him.
Who do you think was the one who filed the injunction against you? It's like, you son of a bitch,
you fucker.
Yeah, and he did such a good. It shows you how talented of an actor Jeff Bridges is. He can play an evil rich dude and a bum with the same amount of skill. The man has got range.
Yeah, he just really ties the room together.
Yes, I suppose he does. But yeah, and that's the thing, man, is each of the characters being so likable and being so interesting was a big part of what made all of these movies, but this one in particular, because it was your introduction, and you had to get invested in order to. It's like watching the first episode of a TV show.
Right.
If you're not interested in the characters right off the bat, you're not going to want to keep watching the rest. And they definitely pulled you in, and they didn't just pull you in; they throttled you. They're like, "You're gonna pay attention to me, damn it!
You're gonna fucking deal with it." And it had to be. It is the first in an 11-year like story that is still ongoing. But ultimately, if it was, Iron Man had to be as good as it was to make you want to see Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, all that stuff.
Right.
And Incredible Hulk, we should probably talk about, because you and I are in a minority of people who fuck with the Incredible Hulk heavy.
I recently, a few episodes ago, I did a whole spiel about the Incredible Hulk because it was the top 10 movies that I like that no one else does, and that was on there. And so I'm going to try not to repeat myself too much, but you know what, actually? I'll take any opportunity I can to fucking go to war.
Let these people know, dude.
To fight in the name of the Incredible Hulk.
That shit was so good.
This movie fucking slaps, damn it. Don't you tell me this movie doesn't slap.
Such a perfect balance of Bruce Banner and Hulk scenes. Every Hulk scene was exactly what it needed to be. Hulk smashed. It was very well done. You could see everything that's happening. He fucks shit up. He's primal as fuck. And when they eventually capture him or he has to be calmed down, you feel for him because you're like, oh fuck, I forgot. He's a real person.
Right.
Shit, he's dealing with this. This is an illness. I'm so sorry. I got so excited in the destruction, I forgot. You have to deal with this on a daily basis. And the shit that Bruce Banner has to do to maintain the beast, monitoring his fucking heart rate, avoiding shit, getting in and out of a relationship, running for his goddamn life, knowing how to stay away from things that stress him out too much because he knows at any fucking moment he can snap and become Hulk and then end up somewhere he doesn't belong. They capture that shit so fucking well, and the Bruce Banner scenes are not fucking boring.
Thank you.
What?
Can you say that again? Because the fact that another human being just said that and I heard it. I didn't think I'd ever hear those words. It makes me feel so good. Can you say that again?
Dude, genuinely, the Bruce Banner scenes are not boring. I find myself loving. Listen, I love mindless destruction as much as the next guy. Okay. I saw Godzilla King of Monsters.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too. But when shit was happening on the screen, I forgave all the other bullshit. Mm-hmm. So I know who I am. And that said, Bruce Banner's scenes were good to watch. Watching how he manages his time. Watching how he's so used to just running from shit. Mm-hmm. His schedule. It's interesting to see him because it's Hulk is a very interesting character. He's always been about the duality. I don't know who these people are who think Hulk is just supposed to just fuck shit up and nothing else. It's always been about the man and the monster and how they fucking coexist.
Preach.
That's what the movie was!
Exactly. See, this is the thing that I said last time, man. Everything you just said is exactly right. Because this is what I've always said about this movie. It captures the essence of the Hulk perfectly. Yes. You can tell the filmmakers did their research and really did their best to capture the spirit of the character and the spirit of his stories.
Yes. Because
it was always, like you said, him hulking out and fucking shit up was only half of it.
Yes.
It was the other half was always it was always about the duality. The other half was always about him like trying to deal with it, trying to control himself, trying to keep himself from being this monster, trying to come to terms with that, trying to cure it. They did all that so well. There's so many just little lines in the movie that, like, as a lifelong Marvel fan, as a lifelong Hulk fan, it really made me happy to hear it. It really made me feel like they were trying to capture the spirit and that they were trying. Where there's a scene where they're on, like, the helicopter, where, like, General Ross is on the helicopter with Blonsky, and he's just like, he's responsible for, like, you know, he's been all over the continent. He's, like, responsible for the death of, like, 2 Canadian hunters and a state trooper and all that. And I'm like, see, they get it. Mm-hmm. Because that's always been Hulk. You know, the idea of him going across the continent and, like, being in one place and waking up in another place, having no memory of where he is, and, like, constantly being on the run. And just the scenes of him in Brazil trying to live a normal life and not knowing how to do it and trying to... First of all, to me, that was interesting.
Right.
Like, not even if it wasn't classic Hulk, it was still not boring to me.
Yeah.
It was interesting. And, again, pacing is so important. And I think the pacing in this movie really worked because it was always, you know, Bruce, and then right when you need one.
Yeah,
right when you need one, an action scene shows up and he hulks out. Dude. And then Bruce, and then another Hulk scene, and... it worked, you know, and I said this last time too. I may be just a teensy bit biased, but not really, because I am a sucker for a good romance. And, okay, his romance with Betty was nothing special,
right?
But there were things about it that I liked. That was one of my favorite aspects of the Bruce storyline, was seeing the two of them together and watching them rekindle their relationship. And sure, you can call it cheesy. I don't know. It was like, to me, it was like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. That was one of my favorite aspects of those movies, and I liked, you know, it reminded me of that, and I thought it was cool to see. And then I've also said this before. This movie, hot take coming in. This movie has some of my favorite action scenes in the whole MCU.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite MCU action scenes is the fight scene at the university. Yeah. I absolutely love that because the director, Louis Leterrier, who is very underrated to me, he's always had a good eye for action because he did The Transporter. He knows how to direct action, and I think that came through here. Mm-hmm. He directed that scene very well. I thought it was just, you know, not only was it just really well shot, but it was just constantly interesting. Like the part where they close him in on the bridge. Yeah. That was cool. That was interesting. The part where he breaks out, he's fucking people up, he's throwing car doors at people. There's always an obstacle. Like the sonic waves. Yes. You're just like, there's always something interesting. It's not just like, you know, punch. It's interesting. There's like a rhythm to it, you know? Yes. I think that made it a lot better. And then there's like, because there's always something going on. It's always like, oh no, Blonsky's gone rogue. This adds a new element to the action. Yes. Oh no, the sonic waves are coming in. This adds something to it. There's more conflict than just punch, smash.
Quip.
Yeah, quip, like some of the later movies. And then the helicopter almost kills Betty. Yeah. You know, that adds a new element to it. Yes. It's always something interesting happening on the screen.
Yeah, it wasn't just mindless fun.
It wasn't like just Transformers where it's bang, bang, smash. You know, you can't tell who the fuck is fighting what.
And then speaking of hot takes, that fucking scene, like toward the beginning where Hulk is revealed in the fucking plants.
I love that scene.
That's one of the best scenes in all superhero movies.
Oh,
that
wow.
Shit.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, that shit is so, listen, like, somewhat, like I said in the beginning, I didn't know very many, like, superheroes. I was limited to, like, Spider-Man, Hulk, Batman, Justice League, right? So, seeing Hulk, he's one of my favorites, one of them that I actually recognize. So, like, watching Bruce running from the guys in the fucking plant, and then, like, seeing they got him on the camera, they got the night vision going on, and then just seeing it, she's like, what is that? Like, you're just seeing his eyes change, he's pushing shit up, and he's running through trying to keep the beast in, monitoring his heart rate. It's not working. He's pushing people off, and you just hear his voice start to change, and then you just see his eyes in the shadow. Yep. That first shot of his face. Mm-hmm. And granted, this movie is super also like technology, but honestly, like it looked so good. I was happy to see him.
The CGI hasn't aged well, but the shot was great.
Yes.
because it's like it was a perfect reveal. They kept him in the shadows for so much of that scene, and they made you wait. They made you like they really made you work for that reveal. Yeah. They really worked for that reveal, and then you see his face, and it's the perfect reveal, and you see Tim Roth's face, and he's just like, holy shit, what?
Yes.
And then he goes back, and again, they did their homework. They're doing a really good job of like paying tribute. The first thing he ever said in the comics, or one of the first things he ever said in the first Hulk comic, was he's smashing shit, he smashes a car, and he says, leave me alone. You can hear him whisper that in that scene.
Yes.
He goes, leave me alone. And I'm like, they did their homework.
Yes.
I love it.
Fucking shit.
They did such a good job.
I got chills, dude.
Paying tribute. And there are other moments in the movie where they pay tribute. They dead ass play the theme song from the TV show at one point.
Yes.
And have him walking down the side of the road trying to get a ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time watching it when I heard the theme song, I was like, they did it. That's incredible. And yeah, I have always loved this movie. And I have always hated because the reason I think people just shrug it off is because my theory has always been, at the time, no one knew what the hell an MCU was. Mm-hmm. And this was the second movie. Most people didn't know it was related to Iron Man. They thought it was just a sequel to Ang Lee's Hulk. And so they were just like, ugh, I don't want to see a sequel to that.
Yeah.
So that nobody saw it. It's the only MCU movie that didn't perform well.
Mm-hmm.
And then because they recast Edward Norton and because they barely mentioned it later on, I think people just in their minds just automatically wrote it off instead of actually taking the time to take it seriously, which is unfortunate. I think people should go back and watch this again. And I know
fucking gem,
it's been over 10 years, but I really hope this movie's reputation improves with time.
Yes. Especially
now that the Infinity Saga is over. And we can kind of look back on all of them like we're doing now in retrospective and like kind of look at, how we feel about it now.
Right.
And I really hope that happens with this one because it's a gem. And
people have lots of polarizing opinions on it, mostly negative, but more polarizing opinions on the next movie, Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2, again, like, I don't feel as strongly about this one as The Incredible Hulk.
Right.
But seriously, I will contend that this is not a bad movie.
Yep.
This movie's only crime, seriously, is that it wasn't as good as its predecessor. That is the only thing that it didn't do right in people's minds, because the first Iron Man was this massive surprise hit.
Yeah.
It was this like huge success. It took everyone off guard and everyone loved it. And everyone was like, oh, well, the next one's got to be even better, like just as good, if not better. And it wasn't, but it was still a good movie. This one was really solid because, when I did my road to Infinity War a few years ago, I hadn't seen a lot of the Phase 1 movies, or really just a lot of the movies in general, in a few years. Mm-hmm. And it had been a while since I had seen Iron Man 2. And so I was like, let's see if I still feel the same way about this one as I always have. It was even better than I remember. It has a solid script, a lot of really funny jokes.
Yeah.
It has a solid, it continues Tony's arc, reactor, in the best possible way for that time. And okay, I take it back. There is another flaw. The villain is one of the worst in MCU history.
Yeah, not big fan of Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke, he was trying his best.
Yeah,
it's not really his fault. He was given nothing to work with. But
if you consider Justin Hammer to be the villain, then they did a good
job. In that case, they did a good job. Because Sam Rockwell nearly ran away with the whole fucking thing.
Dude, he's such a good prick.
He's the best prick.
Yeah.
He's the prick we all love.
He had desserts mailed into him. This motherfucker, I still think about that. Did you have just a private jet with just the fucking cake? And it was a slice of cake. It wasn't even an entire cake. It was a slice of cake brought to him on a fucking golden platter. So like, was there like one person monitoring the jet, and like, someone was piloting it, and the one person was making sure the cake didn't fall over, or was it like a fucking like an actual private jet, like with other people on it, other billionaires and businessmen, and then one seat reserved for this fucking slice of cake?
For context, what if you don't remember? There's a scene where Justin Hammer is talking to Mickey Rourke, and he goes, "Yo, are you hungry? I like to have my dessert first." He's eating like a piece of cake, and he's like,
he said that shit too.
I had this flown in from San Francisco, and they're in New York for context. And this movie is almost a decade old, and I'm not kidding. Ever since I saw it as a kid in 2010, I have, for years and years, never forgotten that scene, because I always thought to myself how absolutely ludicrous that is, that this motherfucker, instead of just going to the cake shop around the corner, flew his fucking dessert in from across the fucking country. When I was a kid, I thought to myself, who the hell does that? And it's been almost a decade. Every time I watch that scene, I still think, who the fuck does that?
Oh, God.
And showing you that one... That was one of the most enjoyable ones watching with you, because every single time Sam Rockwell was on screen, you just were like, get this fucker off the screen. You were like, this fucking guy.
I know, dude. I could not stand him.
Because, like...
He was so good, though.
He was. Sam Rockwell. I'm sorry, I'm not saying his full name. Academy Award winner Sam Rockwell. I'll always call him that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Was incredible. He, again, almost ran away with it, because that's what he does. That's his job, is to steal it from whoever the fuck else is in the movie. And yeah, so if you consider him to be the villain, then they did a very good job, because he was very enjoyable, and Sam Rockwell, as usual, did a very good job playing a very smarmy kind of piece of shit loser. Mm-hmm. So he's a great heel. And yeah, this one, I don't know. There were a lot of things I really liked about it. I think it was very interesting watching Tony's arc reactor get fucked up.
Yes.
And that was his arc for the movie, was he's dying, he's trying to find the cure. He's also dealing with stuff from his past. I thought it was all like pretty interesting. There was nothing like boring about it. There was nothing that I think they did wrong. And we got to see that classic, comic like self-destructiveness that he always had.
Yes.
Where he thinks he's dying and he's like really hitting the bottle hard throughout the movie. The scene at the party was pretty crazy and pretty funny too. We have a scene in an MCU movie where he pees in his suit. And yeah, just overall, I thought I don't get it, because like, most MCU movies aren't as good as the first Iron Man.
Right.
This is no different from those.
Right.
Like, I know it's the direct sequel, but come on. It's not... It's by no means bad. And I think, it's got everything the first one had, like all the basic stuff. It's got Robert Downey Jr. acting his ass off. Jon Favreau doing a good job directing. A lot of funny quips. A lot of really cool action.
Oh, and then this is when they introduced Don Cheadle.
Yeah, and that's the thing. First of all, the best addressing of a casting change in the movie ever. I'm here, it's me, deal with it.
That was to everyone in the audience.
Yep.
Like, shit, okay. That's War
just
Machine.
immediately moves on.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the thing. I've come to appreciate Terrence Howard's version more over the years, but it's not even in the same league as Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Because Terrence Howard, I've come to appreciate his performance while also acknowledging that Don Cheadle is 1,000 times better, because he brought so much to it in this one.
Yes.
Seriously, just rewatching Iron Man 2, I noticed he was a soldier, Terrence Howard was like a bodyguard.
Yeah.
That was more what he was doing. Don Cheadle was like, a best friend and a soldier. He sold those qualities so well.
Right.
I totally believed that this dude was like an experienced combat veteran. I totally bought that this dude had been putting up with Tony for his entire fucking life and was sick to death of him.
Yeah.
He did such a great fucking job and continued to do so all the way until Endgame.
Yes.
He's been in this longer than a lot of the Avengers have.
Yeah.
So respect to Don Cheadle. This is also the movie where they brought in Black Widow.
Oh, yeah.
The trailer for her movie just dropped, by the way.
I did see that.
Which looks fucking great.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
And, yeah, I think... You know what's weird? It wasn't supposed to be Scarlett Johansson at first. It was supposed to be Emily Blunt. I know.
Emily Blunt.
I totally get what they were going for. I think she would have been a great choice.
Yeah.
But it's impossible for me to picture anyone but Scarlett Johansson.
I can't imagine anyone else.
You know?
She just is Black Widow.
I know, right? And she did a very great job. I remember as a kid just loving the fact that she was in it. I remember when she showed up in the trailers, I was like, oh my God! But yeah, and see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, great action on her end, and also great comedy. I fucking love, it's one of my favorite bits in any of the movies where, like, she's, like, cutting her way through the bodyguards and Happy's just, like, dealing with the one guy. And he's like, I got him! And then he looks and she's, like, taking out all the rest.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, legit. Like, a lot of really solid qualities about this one. Like, would I call it one of the best? No. But it is far from one of the worst. This one is, like, a really, really solid follow-up. Even if it's not as good as the first one, you shouldn't judge a movie based on that. It is, yeah, just really, I can't even really, it's just so satisfactory. Like, everything is done in such a satisfactory way.
Yes.
And yeah, thank God they got Jon Favreau to come back because, you know, I think it wouldn't really, we'll get into this later. An Iron Man movie without him can get a little bit messy.
We will get there, but we have to go in order.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That brings us to Thor.
Indeed. Thor, the God of Thunder.
The God of Thunder, one of my favorites in the Avengers, favorites in the movies.
Who doesn't love Thor?
He's so fucking tremendous.
He's the best. And his movie, hot take, one of my all-time favorites. His first movie, one of my all-time favorite MCU movies.
Very good.
I know a lot of people either just think it's good or just okay or don't really fuck with it that much. Or maybe you do really like it. I don't know. Opinions on the Phase 1 movies vary very widely.
Yes.
But this one has always been one of my favorites because it's got the whole package. It's, if nothing else, first of all, I do think it is a very good, well-made movie. But above all else, it is so much fun.
Yes.
This one, because again, when I was doing the rewatch, it had been so long since I'd seen so many. And I watched that one and I was like, I forgot how fun this movie was. I had an absolute blast from start to finish.
Yes.
Like, because they nail everything. They nail the humor, like the adventurous tone that Thor needs. And a lot of people are like, well, it's just in the human world. Like, no, there's a lot of Asgard stuff.
Yes.
The whole first, half hour takes place in Asgard.
Right.
And it's so much fun. Like, you see Asgard, you see the Jotunheim, them fighting the frost giants. You know, the design of Asgard looks so great.
Yes.
They did such a good job bringing it to life and making it look so spectacular.
Yes.
It's so weird to me that Kenneth Branagh directed this movie because obviously when you think of Kenneth Branagh, when you think of the movies he's directed, you think, okay, yeah, the Shakespeare movies he's done. It's so weird to me that he ever directed a superhero movie. He did such a good job, and like this to me is one of his better movies in recent years because he hasn't really been on top of his game recently. But this is like one of his like really good ones from recent times. I think he knocked this one out of the park, and it's so funny because I heard a story once from one of the writers in the movie. It was one of the funniest things I've ever heard, where he's talking about when they were filming the movie and they were deciding about like what to put in there and like what to leave out. And at one point, Kenneth Branagh, I don't remember what it was about, but he asked the question, do you think if we take this out, we put this in, do you think the fanboys will get upset? And I was like, the idea that Kenneth Branagh was wondering if fanboys on the internet will get upset over something in one of his movies. It's the weirdest fucking sentence I've ever heard, and I love it.
Oh my God.
But, yeah, like, I know a lot of people think, oh yeah, fish out of water, it's cliched with the fish out of water and all the jokes. It's funny.
Yeah.
And this was before Wonder Woman, which did it not nearly as well.
Oh.
That's a subject for another day. This to me was like the perfect version of the fish out of water superhero story because it was hilarious. We still remember the jokes. Another!
Yes.
You know, we still remember that shit.
Dude, we're fucking, like, Thor goes into the house, and he's trying to figure out where to put Mjolnir, and he puts it on, like, the fucking key rack. Like, come on! Come on!
That shit is hysterical. And then you got, like, I need a horse! We don't have horses, just dogs and stuff. Give me one of those large enough to ride. It's fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
And again, very, very faithful to the spirit. Like, because as a kid, I thought it was so cool seeing everybody. Because it was like Thor, Loki, the Warriors 3, Sif, everybody that I knew was all there. The gang was all there. They were all like very much like their characters.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say, because this is a criticism of especially the Phase 1 love interests. People have issues with a lot of them, call them bland. I don't feel that way about Jane Foster.
I fuck with Jane Foster.
I thought she was cool. I thought, like, first of all, again, it's all about what the actors bring to the role.
Yes.
Natalie Portman, as usual, fucking delivered.
Yes.
And, like, okay, it wasn't like Black Swan, but she was still doing a good job. You know, she made her very likable. She made her very, like I cared about her.
Yes.
I was upset when the mean old S.H.I.E.L.D. agents took her science shit.
Yeah.
You know? I liked the scenes with her and Thor. The scene with them by the campfire I thought was very nice.
Yes.
And, yeah, I fuck with the Science Gang. I want them to come back for Thor: Love and Thunder.
I need that.
Okay. I need the Science Gang to reunite.
My love for Kat Dennings.
It's a love not shared by many people.
Fucking idiots.
Because that's the thing is, like, most people say, like, oh my god, Kat Dennings is so unfunny in these movies. I'm like, she's really not that bad. Yeah. Especially in the first one. In the first one, I thought she had just the right amount of, like, kind of sidekicky humor.
Yes.
That, like, it was funny. She's like the goofy intern who's there for the ride. I didn't find it annoying.
Right.
They didn't overuse her. You know, she was just like, she was there. She was being funny.
Right.
Just like the rest of them.
Yeah.
You know? And it had, again, the adventurous tone, to me, was like one of the things that made it so strong.
Yes.
The fact that it was really just focused on being like this big and exciting, adventurous adventure, you know? Mm-hmm. It's what that movie needed.
Definitely.
Each of the Thor movies was very different in tone, and I think that one, you know, really nailed it better than a lot of the MCU movies to me. Yeah. Like, where it had its own, it helped to give it its own identity.
Yeah.
You know?
Having that feeling of whimsy is important because you gotta remember, like, this is the MCU. It's about superheroes. So, like, to people who... There probably came a point where they're like, we're going to cater to the nerds, and that's totally fine. But, like, when you have a movie that can be its own thing...
Right.
Because not everybody is as well-versed in Thor and whoever else. So when you have this big adventurous feel, this, oh, it's a new world, it's Asgard, and, like, it's anachronism for taking this character who doesn't belong here, it's having him, like, figure it out. It's interesting because it makes you feel like a kid again.
Right.
When things feel new and different, like, it can be easy to be like, oh, when I grew up, I was watching this character, seeing these whatever, and it's nice to see them on the screen. But also having that feeling of, wow, this is Asgard. I'm looking at this thing. Like, it's not just about the characters. It's about the world.
Right.
And that is what makes it so special.
Right, exactly. And another thing that, like, you know, about the adventurousness and the whimsy and all of it is, with this one... This was not your typical superhero movie. This was dealing with, like, Norse gods and shit.
Yes.
This one could have thrown a lot of people off. This isn't Iron Man. This isn't the Hulk. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got people in, but you got to keep them there. If you start throwing them curveballs, you know, like, shit that's too out of the norm, they might bail. And I know because, like, when I went to see this as a kid, I went to see it with my dad. He wasn't a big Thor fan because he was in that camp of people who was like, Thor, it's too out there for me. I don't really... And when we went to see it, when we walked out, that's how you know the movie did its job and made it appealing to everybody. Because he said, like, wow, I was really surprised at how much I loved that. He said, that was one of my favorites. That was, like, such a big shock. And he still says that to this day, that's one of his favorites.
Good shit.
And I'm like, see, that could have been a moment there where they could have lost some people. But they gave it just the right tone. They did everything with it that they needed to.
Right.
And... they made Thor a very, like, interesting character. Mm-hmm. So that, like, because that's the thing. If you don't care about one of them, the Avengers doesn't work.
Yes.
That was one of the problems with the Defenders. was like, we liked most of them. Nobody gave a shit about Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And that was always a weakness,
Yeah.
you know? So you gotta like them all. And they made Thor. And that's the thing. You can call it contrived if you want. I disagree. Thor's arc, I thought, worked very well.
Yes.
The whole him being arrogant and learning to be a better person thing. It's all about execution, man. They executed it really well. And it helps that Hemsworth sold it the whole way. Yes. And can we just talk for a second about how perfect the casting of him and Hiddleston were? Because, you know what's bizarre? You know what's really bizarre?
Are you going to say the thing?
For the rest of their lives, they are always going to be known as Thor and Loki. No matter what happens, they're always going to be known as Thor and Loki.
Yeah.
And we so associate those characters with those actors now. When they were filming this movie, because I saw it, there was an article from all the way back in like 2010, 2011 that was talking about the casting of these two guys. And this guy, I can't imagine how he feels now. This guy writing this article said, well, the rumors were that they were going to cast like some big A-listers as these two characters, but they're casting some unknown Australian guy and some unknown British guy. I hope they're saving the money on the effects budget. And I'm like, I wonder how this fucking guy feels now that Hemsworth is one of the biggest stars in the fucking world.
You can't escape him now.
And I don't want to escape him.
Me neither. He's one of my favorite Chris's.
He's one of the best Chris's.
Yes.
I still don't know who the best Chris is, but he's a strong contender.
We should do a podcast on the best Chris.
We really should.
Shit.
Look out for that. That'll come in the near future. We're gonna break that shit down. But yeah, it was just super insane that there was a time when somebody thought that. You know, when somebody thought that like these two, who the fuck are these guys? That's who they're going to be for the rest of their lives,
no matter what.
And you know, Hiddleston auditioned to play Thor.
Yeah, I was like, are you going to say that?
How crazy is that?
That's super weird.
Like, he was a perfect Loki.
Yeah, he's too good at Loki.
No one on earth who could have played those two guys as well as they played them.
Yeah,
it was unreal. And yeah.
Although I think it is funny that like Hiddleston was trying to go for Loki, go for Thor, because that kind of adds to the character even more.
That's so true. Like, I never thought about it that way.
He could have been Thor, but wasn't. So he just like that disdain that he has. Is like, oh,
that's
okay,
so
the best damn Loki you've ever seen.
That's why he was the guy.
Yeah,
that's why he was the guy. Oh my god, I never thought about it that way. That is genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one, excuse me, will always be one of my favorites. I think it's really fun. It's really funny. It's really well made. It's really well directed. Again, Kenneth Branagh to me did a really good job. It has the perfect balance of the Earth shit with the funny human stuff and the Asgard shit, because you know they got the Bifrost and the Frost Giants,
yes,
and you know all that cool shit. So really great production design.
Yes,
incredible production design. Again, the way Asgard looked, the way Jotunheim looked, it all really worked. The Destroyer was really cool.
Yes,
that was a great fight scene where they're like, you know, he's just fucking the town up and everything, and they're trying to. I fucking love that.
Right. It's like watching a video game.
Yeah, kind of. Man, speaking of great production design, you want to talk about great production design? Our next movie had some of the best production design in the whole saga.
Captain America, the first Avenger.
The very, very first Avenger.
No matter what. Always the first Avenger.
Always. Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about one of my absolute favorites. This one, I never get tired of this one. Like, to me, the fact that this one is the weakest in Cap's trilogy proves beyond a shadow of a doubt he has the strongest trilogy.
Yeah, easily.
Like, if this is his weakest one, because he's the only one to me who doesn't have a subpar one.
Doesn't have a bad movie.
In his trilogy. Everyone else has at least one where you're just like, you know. His are great. And this is where it started for him, you know. And I remember, you want to talk about weird casting choices? When I was a kid and I saw the trailers for this movie, I was like, the fucking Human Torch?
Yeah!
Is going to be Captain America? What?
Yes.
Like,
Johnny fucking Storm.
I thought that was so weird, and now the idea that he was the Human Torch.
It's bizarre.
I'm like, yo, he was the Human Torch, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's Cap. He's Cap.
Yeah.
Who the fuck else was it gonna be?
Yeah.
They almost cast John Krasinski.
That's weird.
That's very weird. And now they, you know what the irony is? Now they want him in the Fantastic Four. Now they want him to be Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle in the end.
Yep.
But yeah, and I see what they were going for there with that, but that wouldn't have worked like Chris Evans did.
Yes.
And oh my God, you want to talk about just an amazing, super fun time the whole way through. To me, again, the tone of this one is really what makes it. Mm-hmm. It's so unlike the other movies in that it's a period piece.
Yes.
It's like a really fun kind of 40s like war movie kind of thing, but like not like a gritty war movie, more like a. You can tell it's from the guy who did The Rocketeer.
Yes.
You know, because it's got the 40s kind of classic, you know, style, and it's like I think that really benefits it a lot.
Yes.
That really, really works to its benefit.
And I think it was really good too because, like, for me, I didn't know much about Captain America.
I apparently had a Captain America toy when I was like 6.
Really?
I played with it all the time. But like I was not very familiar with Captain America, and a lot of people will probably say that Captain America is one of the least interesting characters in the Avengers.
Which I disagree with.
Right. And I felt the same way for a long time, and I still kind of do. But even with that, like me not knowing a lot about Captain America, Steve Rogers, and all that, this is one of the movies that I saw like leading up to Infinity War. So like I missed this one the first go around. So when I saw this movie, I was like, this movie is like really good. Like it's a coming of age kind of story, and I bought into Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. Like he is a believable like good guy to the core. Like he just wants to do right by people. He wants to help people, protect people. That's all he wanted. And you see skinny ass Steve Rogers, which is fucking weird. Technology. I feel like we have too much technology.
It's weird how good it looks all these years later.
Yeah, like it still holds up when you get this massive head on this like small body.
Fucking Funko Pop.
Yeah. It's a Funko Pop. And like I bought into it like when you had him like going through the process of getting like the super soldier juice, and he's like screaming and shit, and then there's like he's in pain, and then they're like, we should turn it off, this is dangerous. He's like, no, leave it on. Like I was like, oh shit.
Yep. That was an oh shit moment for sure.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care how much it physically pains me, I am going to do what I can to bring more good into the world.
Right.
That's Captain America.
He was literally willing to die.
Yeah.
He jumped on a fake grenade.
Yeah. That's still a great scene, by the way. That's still one of his best moments as the character to me.
Yeah.
You know? Like it perfectly illustrates why he was the guy, why he was the perfect like candidate for the project, and just who he is, you know. And yeah, it's important to see where he comes from in order to understand, you know, in order to like feel for him later on.
Yes.
You know, to see him as the weak, skinny kid, so you understand like why he's the one who deserves the powers. Mm-hmm. You know,
his heart was always in the right place.
Right.
He was Captain America before the juice. So like when he got the powers, he just kept being the same person.
Right.
It's just that his physicality can now match his inside.
Which is what Erskine said. You know, he was like, good becomes better, bad becomes worse. He already had it in him. He was the guy. You know,
right.
That's another really great character moment for him, where he's got him in the medical tent, and he's like, so you want to kill Nazis? You know, he's like, is this a test? Yes, it is. No, I don't want to kill anybody. I don't like bullies, you know? That's why he picked him.
Yes.
He didn't want to kill anybody. He just wanted to, like, protect people.
That's all he wanted.
It was about protecting and not hurting,
yes.
you know? And that's why he was the guy. And, yeah, I thought that the whole 40s, like, war/espionage tone really worked. I thought it added a lot. Joe Johnston is such a consistently underrated director. It really pisses me off how no one ever like knows who he is. He's done so many great movies, and this is one of my favorites of his. And I think, okay, sure, he's not the Russo brothers, but he really, I think, knocked it out of the park with this movie. For what this movie was supposed to be, he did a really good job, translating it. And you can tell also that one of their main influences on this one was Indiana Jones. They've admitted as much, and you can definitely tell as you go throughout the movie. And having that kind of influence, I think, also helped.
Yes.
Because that was also like a 40s fighting Nazis, adventurous kind of romp movie. So it makes sense how they would take, inspiration from that. And yeah, a lot of great... Because one of the main complaints that people have about this movie, it's such a bizarre complaint. People always say like, well, I wish we could have seen more of him being Captain America. They just kind of do a bunch of quick montages of him being Captain America. I'm like, there are plenty. What the hell are you talking about? Those are just to demonstrate the passage of time.
Yeah.
Those are just to demonstrate that, like, we have a lot of years to cover, and we can't... We obviously have to find a way to get through it. Mm-hmm. So rather than just say 3 years later or however long, we're showing it go down, showing you what he's doing, making it more interesting and giving you a better idea. And then also showing plenty of scenes of him being Captain America. There's the scene where he goes to rescue the prisoners. There's the whole fight scene at the end.
Yeah.
There are plenty of scenes. The whole scene where he's chasing the guy down the street. There are plenty of scenes where he's being Captain America. So I don't really get that complaint. I think that's really dumb.
Right.
And I think, not and in the moments where he's not fighting, again, it's like the Hulk thing. They just want to see the action. They don't care about character development, the people who say this kind of shit. Character development and character growth is very important. The scenes where he's like struggling with who he's supposed to be, he was meant to be the super soldier. He wants to like do stuff. He wants to help, and they've just got him as a dancing monkey, basically, just like singing and everything. Yeah. And watching that, and watching his relationship with Peggy develop. Peggy was one of the more interesting love interests to me.
Agreed.
Because she's just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And that's why I hate that they tried so hard to shove her down our throats for so long, because you don't have to try that hard. I already really like Peggy as a character. I already like the idea of her having her own show. You don't have to put her in every fucking movie and try to shove her down my throat so much. Yeah. That's why that whole thing didn't work. That's why her show got canceled, and why everyone just kind of left her behind until Endgame. Is because they just tried too hard. And I'm like, because again, rewatching this one, I was like, yo, Peggy's the shit. Yeah. Honestly, she has so many moments in the movie, whether it's through actions or just through cool character moments, and again, it's all about what the actor brings to the character. Haley Atwell really, really nailed the character perfectly well, I thought, where she was this perfect combination of this badass spy and also just this really interesting person. Yeah. It was like the perfect mix. And she just nailed the complexities, all the emotions she was feeling throughout the movie. She nailed it perfectly. So yeah, I thought she was really cool to watch. I think one of my favorite villains in all the MCU was Red Skull. Red Skull. They adapted him perfectly. Yes. Hugo Weaving was the absolute perfect person to play the part. Yes. And some people don't like how he looks. I don't get why. I think he looks perfect. Yeah. I mean, they did such a good job adapting him. He was a legit threat. He was an interesting heel. Yeah, and
I legitimately was disgusted by him. Now, some of that plays into the fact that it's a period piece, but he's one of the few villains, because you got the Marvel villains, you've got fucking Loki and Killmonger. People like them. Mm-hmm. You don't like Red Skull. Yeah, that's important.
You want him to go down. Yes. Because like you said, it's not even a love to hate situation. You just don't like him. Yeah. Because he's the worst.
Exactly.
Because he killed Stanley Tucci, damn it.
Fucking dick.
He killed Stanley Tucci. And yeah, this one has always been one of my favorites because a lot of fun, the direction and the period piece-iness of it, I think really benefits it. And yeah, I just remember this. I saw this one on my birthday.
Oh shit!
It came out on my birthday.
Yeah, no wonder you're so high on it. But also, it's true though, because again, I was not really sold on Captain America, and so seeing this movie, because by the time I had seen Captain America, the first movie, I think I'd already seen Avengers. I'd seen I think I saw Civil War before I saw the first movie. Yeah. And I saw the Avengers movie, so I didn't really have much to go off of with Captain America, because he's just the leader. He's we shouldn't do this. Good guy stuff.
I can do this all day.
I can do this all day. Bucky this, Bucky that. Like, I didn't really know much about him as a character. So, like, seeing the first movie really finally, I was like, okay, now I have context for the character. Because, like, for all the other movies, he's Captain America. For those who are like, I wanted more Captain America. He's Captain America the whole time through, and there's not much there. So, like, this first movie gives you all the reasons to care about him, the person. Because after that, you just see him being a leader, being stubborn, being justice, all that shit. But you have to see that journey to get there. And that's why I think this movie is really fucking good, too. Because without this, then Captain America is just another protagonist that everyone around likes. Because most people prefer Tony Stark as a character anyway. So, like, he's just another person.
Right. And yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, you know, that's the point of the solo movie is when you get to the team up, you know who they are as people.
Yes.
If you just like start with the team up, Justice League, then you don't know them as people, and they're not interesting, and they're just there to fill their role in the group.
Right.
You know, like in his case, he's just the leader.
Right.
He's just the guy giving orders. Like, but no, he's not just that because you've seen him in his own story. That's the point. Mm-hmm. And they did like as good of a job with him as anybody else in like telling his story and showing who he is as a person.
And then when they tell the story of the individuals, they come together. You take all this knowledge that you have and like, all right, how do they come together? How do they coexist? And that brings us to
the last movie in
Marvel's
the first phase.
The Avengers.
The Avengers.
To complete phase 1, it is what the culmination, it is the thing that made me finally go, fuck it, I'll see these damn movies. Because I saw Thor, and I was like, I need more Thor. So I saw, and I got to see, and like everyone was like, oh, I'm so excited. It's Iron Man, it's Captain America, it's Black Widow, it's Hawkeye. And I'm like, who the fuck is Hawkeye? So
he had a cameo in Thor.
He did have a cameo. But I was an untrained wee little boy, and I didn't know, so I had to find out. And so seeing Avengers was good. It's the team up, right? It's you get to see everyone really stand out. And Avengers is like the first one. I think while you may have favorite movies and there are movies that are better, I think nothing really compares to the first Avengers because it's the first time they got together.
Because like. The first Avengers was like, even if you don't think it's the best one, which I don't, I think it's like really high. It's like in my top 3 or top 4.
Agreed.
But like, even if you don't think it's the best one, you can't deny that this was a very, very special movie in the way that none of the others were. Excuse me, because this, I'm like, it's so funny because you know. When you hear your parents or your grandparents or whatever say, like something that you're used to, when they say, the first time I saw this, it blew my mind, you know? And that's what I'm going to be when I have kids. I'm going to be like the old guy who's like, because like legitimately, the first time I saw the trailer for this movie, it blew my fucking mind.
That fucking panning shot of them like circling around in New York and shit.
I was legitimately like, because I knew for years it was coming. I knew they were going to do it. But seeing that trailer, because that was just an established thing. You did not have a movie with Iron Man unless it was an Iron Man movie. You did not have a movie with Thor unless it was a Thor movie, you know? So actually seeing a real big budget trailer for a real movie with all of these characters in it together, I could not comprehend it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is, oh my God. Oh, we're really going to do this.
Yeah, it's real.
I cannot believe this is actually happening. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And it's so weird to think that because now we're so used to them crossing over.
Yeah.
And we're so used to cinematic universes in general now. And when you really look at it, it hasn't been, in the grand scheme of things, that long. Only about like 7 years since the Avengers.
Yeah, shit.
In just 7 years, we've come that far to where it's so normalized now. But yeah, it was mind blowing, and then seeing the actual movie was even crazier. Like, I couldn't believe it that the fight scene in the forest between Cap, Iron Man, and Thor was the dopest shit I had ever seen. The fucking just it was so crazy, and yeah, it wasn't just a movie. It was like it really was a moment, like. in pop culture.
Yes.
It was one of those like decade, generation defining moments that like no one will ever forget because that was the movie. All the other ones before that were popular, but this was the one that got us to where we are today.
Yeah.
Like
that was Marvel putting their big ass flag and saying, "We are here."
Yeah. Like that was the one where we legitimately the world became Marvel fans. Everyone in the world, like that was when they all started making $1 billion. That was when they all became like the movies that were at the forefront of the cultural zeitgeist. Like that was the moment.
Yes.
From that moment onward, that's when we all became obsessed with superheroes, and you know, it's we owe it to this movie, this like incredible lightning in a bottle, fucking amazing. Because that was the thing, man. If you didn't execute this right, you had done the unthinkable.
Yeah.
You had actually gotten to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You had executed all of the solo movies right. And you had gotten to this point. And if you dropped the ball or even fell just a little bit short of expectations, underwhelmed even to the slightest degree, like the Defenders,
Yep.
it wasn't going to work. But Joss Whedon, who's a dirtbag, but I got to give him credit, he just absolutely delivered.
Yes.
Completely and totally delivered to the highest fucking level. It was the best version of what it could have been. It didn't underwhelm even a little bit. It was amazing. It was huge. And even looking back at it now, even now that we're used to them teaming up, it's still one of the biggest and the best.
Yes.
It has one of the best screenplays to date.
Yes.
It just like, it's unbelievable how well he made it all come together. Every single one of them, except maybe Hawkeye, had their moment to shine. Like, had great arcs, had great interactions, you know, and
Dude, fucking
Loki, this is the movie, because like that's the thing, you know, everyone always was complaining about the villains for so long, and
Yes.
everyone was always saying, only good one so far is Loki, you know, when are we going to get the next Loki? This is the movie that made him like that. If he had just never shown up again after Thor, he would basically just be another villain. Not that he was bad at Thor, but like, this is the one that made him special. Because in this one, he had Joss Whedon writing for him, and that made a massive fucking difference. I'll never, ever, every time I watch this movie, this scene still just knocks my socks off. One of the best villain speeches ever is the part where he's like, just going after Black Widow.
Yo, that shit, I still have chills about that.
Honestly, like that to me,
so evil.
That was the moment where I knew, I was like, this is, wow. He's like legitimately the greatest villain they have at the moment, you know? And, you know, because he was legit, man. He was going in. He was vicious. He was doing this because it was fun for him.
Right.
He's like, that's why he's doing this. He could easily just piss off, but he just wants to do this.
Yeah, he just like, I got time to kill.
Right. I got time and people to kill.
Yeah, let me psychologically fuck this person up just because they're here.
Right. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to just do this shit. You know? And they've tried to fucking retcon it now and be like, oh no, Thanos used the Mind Stone on him and that's why he was extra vicious in the event. Like fuck off.
No, let him be a villain, okay?
Let him...
Don't dismiss Loki's work, okay? Part of why the Avengers was so good is because of how Loki, his energy and the way he can manipulate people.
Yeah.
Like, it turned the common theme of the Avengers not being able to work with each other. But, like, that was, like, the first time we saw, like, them. He's just amping them up, playing to their insecurities. And just the way he was, just from a fucking cell, was able to cause so much, wait for it, mischief.
Aha!
That it caused, like, they could the heroes could have fucked each other up, and they did. Like, they fought in the fucking plane.
Which was amazing.
Yeah, it was super fucking good. Like, that's another, like, obviously the action's good, but, like, fucking Thor and Hulk fighting.
And not even just that, but, like, one of the most tension-filled scenes. Oh my god, every time I watch the part where Black Widow is running from Hulk, I'm like, I've seen this movie a million times and I still don't know if she's going to get away. I'm like, run, Natasha, run!
Yeah. Oh god.
And boy, did they earn that fucking payoff.
Yeah.
Boy, because the whole time he's like building it up like, oh, I guess you don't get to see my party trick after all. You know, like Tony keeps baiting him, and you're waiting the whole moment for him to bring out the Hulk, and boy, did they earn that. When he finally came out to play, it was like, oh, we're doing this. This is legit. He's here. And yeah, he did that in a cell, from a cell. It was unbelievable.
Fucking Loki, man.
And yeah, that was the thing, like that Tony was saying towards the end, like, you know, it wasn't a great plan. Not a great plan. Because here's what you didn't get. You thought we were all just going to fuck off after you fucked with us. No, see, you pissed us all off now, individually.
Right.
And now we're united against you.
Yeah, you gotta pay.
Exactly.
I love that, like, fucking Tony Stark, like, he's just in there fucking making drinks.
Right.
Like, we're about to fuck you up.
Right. It's like, dude, you're about to fucking die.
Yeah, like, just so you know, like, shit. It's
again, this one had some of the best humor, some of the best quips.
Puny God.
Iconic. Never fucking forget. Again, that was just like, it seems so weird, but like at the time, even as used to superhero movies as I was at that point in time, a scene like that, I'd never seen anything like that. He just picked him up and fucking threw him around like a rag doll. I was like, this is so crazy. Puny God. So many great. In all seriousness, I think I'll have that drink now. The fucking part where he's like, how will they have time for me when they're so busy fighting off you? Well, this usually works. Well, performance issues aren't uncommon. So we have a Hulk. Classic.
Yes. Amazing.
I have an army. We have a Hulk. And yeah, just so funny the whole way through. Every single so many fucking tiny ones. The Galaga guy, fucking iconic. One of my favorites is at this point, I don't think there's much that would surprise me. $10 says you're wrong. It's so subtle. He just hands him the $10. Unfucking believable.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it really was just the most perfect version, and it had to be, or it wasn't gonna propel it forward as much as it did. And every character had their moment to shine, except maybe Hawkeye.
Right.
But they tried to make up for it towards the end, you know? He was in the fight a lot towards the end, but, like, he spent so much of the movie mind-controlled.
Yeah.
You know? But...
they make up for it eventually.
They do.
We'll get there.
They with each movie, they very much made up for it. But, yeah, and it was just so... and it really did feel like they were... you know, doing their best to, like, pay homage to all the movies that came before it.
Right.
Be like, we really care about, except for maybe The Incredible Hulk, getting all of them in there. And, you know, I think we can all agree at this point Ruffalo was a better Hulk.
Yes.
And I still don't think he's ever done as good of a job as he did in that first Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, he's done a lot of good work since then as the Hulk, but in that first one, man, he was perfect as Bruce. And I was thinking to myself, like, because I wasn't happy that they were recasting Edward Norton, but then I saw the movie and I'm like, okay, yeah, he's better. But yeah, like, honestly, it really is crazy, like how, and of course, we all remember, you know, freaking out in the theater, at the post-credit scene.
Oh yeah.
We'll touch on him later, but that was when we knew. That was the moment where we knew where it was going. Because until then, it was all about just getting to the Avengers.
Right.
And at that moment, we saw Thanos. He turned around, and that was such a perfect post-credit scene.
Yes.
Because they abandoned this eventually, but clearly at that moment, Joss Whedon's idea was to take him in the more classic Thanos route. Because typically his whole motivation is he's obsessed with death, and he's trying to kill all these people to please death. Who's like a physical entity in the Marvel universe that he's in love with. And that was so perfect to me where he's like, to challenge them would be to court death. And he turns around and smiles like, fam, that's exactly what I want to do. And I was like, oh, shit!
Yep. Would have been so cool, but it's fine.
No, I'm so happy with where they went.
Yeah.
But like, I just, in hindsight, that's so cool to watch. And again, that was the moment, you know, where we knew we didn't know exactly, like, all the steps we were going to take to get there, but we knew that was going to be, pun intended, the end game. And so, yeah, we had to wait a long time, but we got there eventually. And yeah, it was really cool, kind of knowing what we were building to.
Right.
Isn't it crazy to think that there was just a time where we thought of him as just the guy in the chair?
Yeah.
We roasted him for so many years.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of your chair,
Yeah.
you big purple bitch.
And he got the fuck out of that chair.
Oh, little did we know, we really, really did not want him to get out of that chair.
Yeah, but
we had no idea how much he was gonna fuck shit up.
This is we got to get there, so we got to keep moving forward.
Right.
And forward, we move on to Phase 2.
Yes.
Phase 2 begins with Iron Man 3.
Now you notice we had a big build up there and then a fizzle. I can think of no better way to introduce this movie. I want to state for the official record, okay? I don't think that this is a bad movie. I don't hate it. It's just so kind of just whatever for me. Mm-hmm. Like, this movie has a lot of positive qualities.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of things this movie does right. I really like Shane Black as a director.
Yes.
I think when you give Shane Black a big budget movie, he doesn't always deliver as well as if it's a smaller budget movie. Because the only two big budget movies he did were this and The Predator, which was a very, very bad movie. And yeah, this was just kind of whatever, because, okay, we'll address the most obvious thing last and get everything else out of the way first.
Yeah.
So this movie has so many fucking plot holes, it's basically like a Swiss cheese. There's just so much bullshit that doesn't add up, and so much bullshit where it's like, it's just stupid. Because when I rewatched this one, I was thinking the same thing as I was thinking during Iron Man 2. I was like, well, let's see how I feel about this one now. Let's see if I feel the same, different, whatever. Because the first time I saw this movie in theaters, I walked out of that thinking, I like that, but I feel like I shouldn't have. I was like, I feel like I should probably not like this movie, but I kind of did.
Uh-huh.
And that's, I mean, I don't know. These days, I'm just kind of like, I like parts of it, but it's not because, okay, there's so many things. Okay, I guess we will address the most obvious thing first. Mandarin Twist is stupid, don't at me. And here's why. Because I know what a lot of you are going to say. Oh, you're just upset they didn't do it like the comics. Well, that's not entirely true. Like, would I have wanted them to do the comics Mandarin? I mean, if you're adapting a book, you want them to adapt the characters, right? How is it any different from a fucking comic book?
Right.
I mean, it's all about adapting the characters properly. But whatever. And that's the thing. The version of him that they did was so great. Yeah. Because it wasn't really like the comics version completely. It was like an updated version.
Yeah.
Where he's not like this mystical dude with 10 rings of power. He's like, it's a more modern take where he's like this terrorist guy. And I think it was a very, very good way to sidestep, any problems that you could have had with the... And first of all, I don't think, and they're going to prove this with Shang-Chi, I don't think that they needed to... There weren't any problems to sidestep. Because, like, that was the thing everyone was always saying about the Mandarin when that movie came out. Is like, well, we made him like this because we wanted to avoid any... like stereotypes, and I'm like, then just don't make him stereotypical.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Like just because he's
put Asian people on the silver screen.
Like he's an Asian. They made the same bullshit argument. Well, we get into that later about about Doctor Strange. But whatever. That's always the cop out excuse. Is just like, we didn't want to make it stereotypical, and I'm like, then don't make it stereotypical. Just make him an Asian dude with 10 fucking rings. I don't get how hard that is to do. You don't have to give him fucking buck teeth and a thick Asian accent.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. It's not that hard. But either way, the version that they did, I think, worked. And that's the thing that's the biggest insult to me, is they, for the first hour of the movie, it wasn't just a fake out. They committed so well, so hard to the character, and they were showing you, they were like, yeah, you thought we had a villain problem? Here comes the Mandarin.
Yeah.
He's like one of the best ones we've had. He's like both faithful to the spirit of the character and a timely update. And we're going to make him super cool, and he's super intimidating because you got Ben Kingsley, who's a fucking legend, and he's knocking it out of the park, and we're really just going to commit to the Mandarin being this great villain. And then you just say, fuck it.
No.
Then you just say, fuck it halfway through, and you're like, oh, JK, it's, he's a fucking actor. Like, and here's the problem, okay? Like, it's not that I'm against the idea. Like, do I want to see the classic Mandarin? Do I think that Shane Black was just trying to be clever? I mean, he's just trying to be clever. That's all it is. He's just trying to be like, LOL, I gotcha, right? I'm such a good writer. Like, no. You should never just fuck with the characters in the story just for the sake of, like, showing off how clever of a writer you are, just for the sake of a plot twist. Like, you know, but none of that matters. But, like, because I would still be on board with this idea anyway if you executed it right. But here's the problem. In order to execute this right, you have to have his replacement villain be just as good, if not better. And what did they give us as his fucking replacement? Fucking slick back Guy Pearce breathing fire. What the fuck, man? You had this great fucking villain who, in addition to being a great adaptation of the character from the comics, was just a great fucking villain, such an intimidating presence. He's blowing up theaters, he's killing people, he's shooting people on live TV. He's a legit threat.
Yeah.
You know? And you replace him with fucking,
oh, I'm Guy Pearce, and my whole character trait is that my hair is slicked back and I talk like this. And I feel like moments like this where my temper is tested somewhat.
Like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, this is fucking Whiplash levels of unintimidating and uninteresting. Like, at least Whiplash had cool whips. What is this guy's thing? His powers make no fucking sense. He fucking breathes fire, he can regrow limbs, he can explode.
Yeah.
They were making this shit up as they went along. It was fucking ridiculous. The Extremis thing is so poorly explained, and it's just like, they explode, and then sometimes they die when they explode, and then sometimes they don't, and they can regrow limbs. There's a scene where Guy Pearce fucking breathes fire at War Machine, and I swear this was ad-libbed by Don Cheadle, where he just goes, you breathe fire now? Okay. And I'm like, yeah, basically. Like, they were just pulling this shit out of their ass.
And that's the unfortunate thing, right? Is it was a good idea. I think that the idea of having the Mandarin be is a terrorist, but he's more of a figurehead, right? The snake has multiple heads, so he's just the projection. The real demon is somewhere that's hidden. And that's a cool idea, but the problem, like you said, is the replacement is fucking shitty. And then on top of that, the actor who was the Mandarin was played off as a fucking joke.
That's the problem too. They make it like this, because like, what would you rather fucking, like, he's been this super intimidating villain the whole time, but then once the reveal happens, it's not that he's just an actor, it's his first fucking line is, oh, I wouldn't go in there for a while, oh goodness, like, oh, fart jokes, drunk jokes, I'm just, oh, it's silly, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, man? This is such an insult.
Big mistake.
Shane Black is just trying to show off. That's the thing that pisses me off. He's just trying to show off his clever writing instead of caring about what's best for the story and how to best execute and serve the characters, you know? And people just kind of jerk off to the plot twist because they're like, oh my god, it's such clever writing. Like, it doesn't matter because it doesn't work.
It's only good on paper if I still have to watch what happens after the fucking plot twist, and I don't enjoy it.
I know, and it's just, it makes no sense, and it's stupid, and there's so many plot holes in the movie where it's like, and you could fucking, there are just so many other problems. Rebecca Hall's character could have been cut from the movie and it wouldn't have made a fucking difference.
God, yeah.
What a pointless fucking character. It's so funny. This movie has been out since 2013. It's been 6 fucking years. The first time I ever saw that movie in theaters, when she died, there was not an ounce of emotion in me. I could not possibly have given less of a shit.
Right.
And then I watched it again this fucking year, before Endgame, when I was doing my countdown. Nothing had changed. I was still just like, am I supposed to feel sad? I really don't give a fuck. I don't care about her. She's been in like 5 fucking scenes. But they play it off as this big, sad death. This big, like, Iron Man is so sad, like, you are a maniac. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Like,
Didn't have time to, like, make us care about this character. And, like, her death scene was supposed to be, like, emotional. And she really existed to make you hate...
Exactly.
Like, slick back hair more. But,
yeah.
like, it didn't work.
I know. Like, that was the whole point, was like, now you really hate him, don't you? Like, I don't care.
Right. Pretty apathetic, actually.
Yeah. and like, I get that they were dealt a shit hand because originally she was supposed to play the villain.
Which I would have rather seen.
Anything would have been better than fucking slick back Guy Pearce.
Because even if she was bad, it's like, well, at least she's a woman lead as a villain.
Yeah,
that's something different,
which we didn't get for a while later.
Fucking A.
And that would have been at least it would have been cool for that reason. It would have been a better use of Rebecca Hall's talents because she's a very talented actress, and it would have given her a purpose which she didn't have in the finished product. So I get that they were dealt a shit hand. He wanted to keep her on board, even though they nixed the idea of her being the villain. But still, like, you couldn't have found something better for her to do. It was like, or just say, I'm sorry we couldn't work together on this project. It sucks. I'll use you down the road in my next movie, something. Mm-hmm. It was just so, she was just so pointless. And then there's so many other things that are stupid where it's just like the fucking
anxiety angle.
That goes nowhere.
Dude.
Because here's the thing. People complain about that. And like, I get why people complain about that. Because ultimately it goes nowhere. But it was a great idea. It was like, again, like I said for Iron Man 2. Like that movie, given where he was, given the recent events in the MCU, it continued his arc in a realistic, natural way. Mm-hmm. Same here. He's traumatized after New York. He's dealing with, like, having been in space and all that shit, going through the wormhole with Morgan Freeman and all that. And it's so cool to see, and it's relatable for people with problems like that, to see, like, a main character in a movie do that. And it's cool, and it's interesting. And I think it provided a very good storyline for him. But then it goes nowhere because literally he just gets over it because the kid's like, what's the matter? I'm having an anxiety attack. I keep having anxiety attacks. Well, just don't feel that way anymore. All right, kid. And it just goes away.
Yeah, it's gone. And
I'm like, oh, that's how it works.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's totally believable for Tony Stark to react that way, but there's legitimately not a hint of anxiety after that point. Not even in the future movies.
No, he's totally...
it's done.
He's totally fine after that. It just goes away, literally because the kid said, well, just don't feel anxious anymore.
Yeah, are you anxious? Are you depressed? Are you whatever? Just stop. Oh, thank you, random kid that I've known for like a few hours.
That had never occurred to me to just stop feeling that way. Okay.
Yeah, well, shit.
I'll do that.
You're like a genius.
Yeah. It was just really dumb, and that arc had no real resolution. Like, if you're gonna make it so that he doesn't have, that he like gets better by the end, then at least do it in a realistic way.
Right.
Where you don't just like drop it because now we gotta move towards the climax.
Yeah.
And yeah, so many plot holes where it's just like another reason the Mandarin thing doesn't work is because, like, they make it seem like, oh no, it was all movie magic. I didn't really kill anybody. Like, he doesn't understand that he shot a guy in the head.
Yeah, literally.
How does he not realize that he shot a guy in the head? He's like, they didn't tell me that we were really going to be... Like, you shot a guy in the head. How do you not know? I get that you're, like, a drunk, but, like, come on. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, he says later on, like, oh, they don't tell me anything. I'm just the face. I'm just an actor. Yet he knows exactly where the fucking thing is going down in the shipyard.
This is in the same scene, like, seconds later, too.
I know. Like, he tells them exactly where the fuck they need to go to save the president. Fucking annoying ass James Badge Dale, bubblegum chewing piece of shit. Fucking is in Tennessee in one scene, and then the next day he's in fucking California. And I'm just like, he just can teleport, I guess. Like he's on Game of Thrones. It pisses me off how he just follows them around like that. And it's so many fucking stupid. The dumb son of a bitch, and I know this has been harped on to death, but it really can't be harped on enough. He gives his home address to a terrorist.
Oh, God.
And just expects him to walk through the front door instead of showing up with, like, helicopters and shit. And then doesn't see the missile until it's on the fucking TV.
Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
As high-tech as that fucking house is.
Jarvis didn't even warn him.
Yeah, like, there is no way that he would have gotten that close without Jarvis saying, "Excuse me, sir, there seems to be an enemy jet coming at approximately this many miles." Like, they would have said something!
And then why not activate the house party protocol right there?
Boom.
You got like 40 fucking suits in your basement and you're not even gonna fucking use them?
An established thing that already happened. That's the thing that we would have been like, oh, right, call back. But no!
No, that happens later in the movie.
Fucking A, man.
It's fucking ridiculous. None of it makes any sense. But it looked cool, didn't it? Where she says, should we worry about that in the dramatic moment where the missile, you see it on the news? It was cool, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. The dude was just trying to be cool. And again, I love and respect Shane Black a lot as a writer and as a director. But man, sometimes he fucks up. And this is one of those times, you know, there's just so much dumb shit. And that was the thing. I remember watching this again and being like, okay, so the first 40 minutes to an hour has problems, but it's mainly solid. And then once the Mandarin twist kicks in, he just gave up.
Yeah.
The whole thing changes. All the plot holes start.
It's like a different fucking movie.
Yeah, like all the plot holes start showing up. It just gets dumber. The quips get worse. It's just, you know, and this is what I said earlier. You don't have Jon Favreau on board. It makes a difference. Again, no disrespect to Shane Black. I love you, but like, kind of dropped the ball on this one.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
But we did get Gwyneth Paltrow in a crop top and leggings spitting fire.
You know what? That makes up for all the rest of it. That's a fair point.
Jackson life is about give and take.
But here's the thing. That whole thing, as amazing as it was,
yes,
it brings with it a level of stupidity because it shows you how weak the villain is. He loses to Gwyneth Paltrow in yoga pants, who has only known how to breathe fire for about 30 seconds.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
This was the replacement for the Mandarin. Yeah. Fucking absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I think we poured a
it
lot into this.
It was hilarious, though. It was hilarious. Like, I fucking love Pepper so much. Right after she just finishes mopping the floor with him, she's like, "Oh my god, that was so violent." I'm like, she's the greatest.
Adorable. Earn that paycheck.
Right? And then also, one last thing I'll say, because we got to move on, but like, oh, the fucking plot holes in this movie. The end where he's like, "I'm not Iron Man anymore." Like, why would he do that? Why would Shane Black, like, did Kevin Feige or nobody say, "Actually, fam, he's going to be Iron Man for a lot longer after this, so can you just not have him..."
Yeah, did no one show him the fucking schedule?
Quit being Iron Man. We got an Avengers movie coming down the road. And it's like, yeah, well, I had an operation to get the shrapnel out of my chest. And I'm like, you could have done that the whole time? And you just didn't?
Yeah.
The fucking thing in your chest nearly killed you in the last movie. You could have taken it out the whole time. And you still didn't? Even though the fucking thing was going to poison you? It makes no sense. None of it makes any fucking sense.
I will, as stupid as that is, I will say that does kind of make sense because Tony, from the beginning, was trying to die.
But he wasn't, though. He was trying to... Because, like, the cave changed him. He's trying to live.
Yeah.
Live until he dies. Which is what he did. May he rest in peace.
But we move forward. We got to get there.
Yes.
Next is Thor: The Dark World.
You want to talk about build up and a fizzle.
Dude, I will say 100% I don't remember this movie at all. So you're going to have to take this one.
No one remembers this movie. It is, to this day, the worst one they've ever done.
Yes.
Had
the great scene with Loki turning into people, including Captain America.
That was a great scene.
But, like, I don't remember anything else.
Yeah, it's very understandable. I'm not sure anything actually happened in this movie. I'm like 98% sure that nothing actually happened. I'd have to watch it again to be sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, then let's just do one of these.
Okay. So this one is the worst one for a lot of reasons. The main one being the script is not good.
Okay.
Which is very, very weird because it was written by the two best writers in the MCU, Marcus and McFeely, who wrote all the Captain America movies, Infinity War, and Endgame. Mm-hmm. They are the goats of the MCU. They've written all the big ones. And they co-wrote this one with Christopher Yost. And I always blamed him for that, even though he's usually a good writer. But here's what I think happened. I think what happened was they were writing Winter Soldier, because that was the next one that came out right after this. They were writing Winter Soldier, and Kevin Feige just came and said, "Hey, you guys having fun writing Winter Soldier?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Cool. By the way, you guys also have to write a Thor script. You have 3 weeks. We start shooting in like a month." What? And it's like, "Yeah, here you go. Have fun. Do the best you can." And they're like, okay. Because this was so clearly just an unfinished like first draft that needed to be touched up like a lot more, because there's it's so structurally unsound. I was talking about pacing earlier. This has the worst pacing in any of the movies. It just completely falls apart towards the middle, where like it starts off fairly competent. It starts off like, okay, it's a typical Marvel movie. We're doing our thing. We got Asgard, we got Earth, we got the threat. It's all working. And then towards the middle, it just kind of falls apart, where it's just like, we're not doing anything. Nothing is really going on. And then we just like, there's basically no middle. We just jump immediately to the end. And the end is boring as fuck, because you want to talk about, like, to this day, seriously, the worst villain they've had. And this is saying a lot, because Slickback Guy Pearce breathing fire was really bad. Ronan was really bad. Ultron was really bad. But fucking guy whose name nobody can fucking remember, Malekith. I can't believe I even remember his fucking name.
Dude, this might have been the first time I've heard that name.
Like, they may not have even. Again, I'm not entirely sure this movie really exists. But, because Thor: The Dark World is like the Loch Ness Monster, you know? We all believe that it exists, but whoever really saw it, to quote Patrice O'Neill.
Rest in peace.
Rest in motherfucking peace. We all believe it, but whoever really remembers seeing it, you know? Malekith is the worst. What a waste of a great actor. Fucking Christopher Eccleston is such a great, accomplished actor, and they just put him in under all this heavy fucking makeup and gave him the worst fucking dialogue. You can't even tell it's him, so it's a total waste. Like, literally, he barely says a word, and every fucking word he does say is, "I will bring about the eternal darkness. The Dark Elves will rise again." And the Dark Elves, those were who were the villains in this movie. Yeah, the Dark Elves. Dark Elves, yeah. That was what we were up against in this one. But yeah, he had a red sludge. That was his weapon of choice. It's not a stone. It's sort of a red, angry sludge. So I'm going to need someone to amend that. But yeah, no, he sucked. The final battle was as boring as any I've ever seen. It was literally just shoots lightning at him, deflects it. Shoots lightning at him, deflects it. Shoots lightning at him, deflects it. Evil speech. Comic relief science gang running around doing funny shit. You know, and here's the thing. People give Kat Dennings a lot of shit for this one. They say this is the moment where she became really annoying and overused. I disagree. I think all of the really unfunny comedy came from Selvig in this one. Like, this one had some of the worst comedy, if not the worst comedy, out of all the movies. And it all came from him. It's like, LOL, he's not wearing pants. LOL, he's running around naked. LOL, like, it's not fucking funny. Yeah, he's the one who had all the really unfunny jokes. She was nothing compared to him. And yeah, that was the main problem, was just, it just wasn't interesting. There were parts of it that were, but I'm telling you, it just wasn't finished. Because there were plenty of parts, like the part where the Dark Elves attack Asgard. That was a pretty cool fight scene. You know, some of the interactions between Thor and Jane were fairly interesting. There were just a lot of boring parts. Whenever they were talking about the portals and shit, it was just really boring and low key. And yeah, it was just like not particularly interesting. A lot of the stuff with Loki towards the beginning was good, where he's in the cell and he's talking to Frigga, and that was a really sad scene where she died. And he, like, you know, there's this scene where they tell him, and like he flips out and knocks all the things over in the room. That was good, because she's like the one person in the entire universe that he actually cares about, and now she's gone. But yeah, okay, there were a couple funny jokes. There was one where, what was it? He fucking brings Jane to Asgard, and she's like, she goes to Odin, and she's like, "Hi, and he's like, "I know exactly who you are, Jane Foster." And she's like, "You told your dad about me?" I was like, okay, that's a funny joke.
Right.
But yeah, and then they kind of underused the Warriors 3 and Sif in this one, which I didn't like, because they were part of the charm of the first one. I thought they served their purpose really well in the first one. It was like part of the charm. They were all really fun characters, and then in this one they were just kind of there as the support team. The one guy wasn't even fucking in it. He just dipped after the beginning. And then, like, legitimately, they switched one of the actors out and nobody even fucking noticed. Fucking Zachary Levi played the blonde one. He didn't play him in the first one. He played him in this one, and nobody fucking noticed the difference. So that was funny. And okay, this is going to be a random thing to go into, but just a quick little moment here. I didn't realize until the most recent time I watched this one, just how hot Sif is. Did you ever notice that?
No.
This is something that never occurred to me, and I was just watching, thinking like, damn, Sif, what the fuck are you doing to me right now?
I'm looking up right now.
I've been watching these movies for years, and I'm like, what are you doing to me right now? I never fucking realized this. And she's still out there, by the way. I want her to come back for Thor 4, because she's still out there somewhere.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right?
Oh.
Right? Yeah. What did I tell you?
This whole time.
Yeah, like all
I'm
this time,
embarrassed.
never even noticed.
Shit, okay.
I'm gonna need her and Valkyrie to like team up or some shit. And Lady Thor.
Jackson.
I'm gonna need this shit to happen.
Please.
If you're listening, Taika Waititi, you're not. On a weekly basis, I call out Marvel and do this bullshit. Marvel, if you're listening, I'm gonna continue to plead to you until you hear me. Please make this shit happen. I need that trio.
Yes.
I need the three of them to like have a badass fucking scene where they all fight together.
Yes.
Because she's still out there, and we need to know what happened to her.
The streets need it.
Indeed. But yeah, that was one of the only positive things. I'm sure you're all thinking, why are you talking about that? Because there's nothing else positive to talk about this fucking movie. There's like almost nothing to work with. Fucking, I cannot believe people actually thought Loki died in that fucking scene. I'm just like, first of all, even if we didn't see him get back up, he's not fucking dead.
Right.
Come on. And like, because when I left the theater, like my dad and my brother were like, I really thought Loki was dead until he showed up at the end there. And I'm like, they showed him get back up. I don't understand. Like, you know, and that was stupid because it spoiled the twist at the end, which is that we knew it was obvious enough. But if you're going to commit to it at least, you know. But yeah, we have a long way to go, and I'm not going to waste too much time talking about Thor: The Dark World that much more.
Especially when we could be fucking talking about Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Which is a complete contrast to Thor: The Dark World, because that's one of the best.
That shit's fucking excellent.
That
dude.
shit fucking slaps, man.
The action. That's what makes this movie so fucking good.
Yeah.
The action scenes, the fight scenes are so well choreographed. They're so interesting. Things are happening. It's
so good.
Boy, the Russo brothers know how to direct
God.
action. Those two came in and just took the shit by storm. Because at that point in time, like, the guy in the MCU, like, the head jock who was, like, captain of the football team was fucking Joss Whedon.
Right.
You know, he was the guy calling the shots creatively. He was, like, the one that everyone was looking to. Then the Russo brothers came in and were like, nah, we're taking this shit from you. This is ours now. Mm-hmm. We're taking it from you. And they did.
Yeah.
Because, like, and I know it's been said so many times, but it's legitimately amazing that these fucking sitcom directors, before this, they were directing episodes of Community.
Yeah.
They came in and directed, these two are two of the best action directors working right now.
Yep.
The action in each of their movies, but in this one, it was unbelievable, and they came in, and injected it with, like, because, you know, I'm not going to lie, man, for the longest time, I wasn't on the same page with this one as everybody else. Everybody else was saying, like, this is the best one, this is one of my favorites, this is, like, the greatest one they've done, and I was always like, I really like this one, but I don't get why everyone loves it so much. For so long, that was my thought process. But then, over the last couple of years, I've finally come around to realize, like, yo, no, this one actually is, like, so... Because it was different than anything that they had done before in terms of tone. It was, like, a gritty kind of, like, spy movie, which was really cool. It was so, like, gritty and, like, viscerally directed with the action and everything. It was so fucking awesome, and it was cool seeing Cap getting a solo movie in a modern setting.
Yes.
Since his first one was a period piece. It was weird at first, but I was like, yeah, okay, this is weird because of the last one, but, you know, I'm for it. And they did so much good shit. Like, you know, like I was saying before, the arc going in the natural place, Bucky coming back into the world did so much for Steve, you know?
Yeah.
That was, like, such a big thing for him. And I think it was also just really cool of them to do the Winter Soldier thing, to bring Bucky back into it. Because he has since had a good arc, too.
Yes.
Where with each movie, he gets better and better and more clear-headed. Mm-hmm. And this was him at his worst, you know, where he was just fully brainwashed. And, like, just seeing the change from the guy from the first Avenger to this guy, startling. You know, and he was such a badass. Like,
oh yeah,
oh my god, he just fucked so many people up. It was so crazy. And okay, I do think this is another example, like many of the MCU villains, where it's just an asshole in a suit. Nothing too special about him, but like I said before, it's about how the actor does it, how much he brings to it, and there was ever a chance Robert Redford wasn't going to fucking bring everything to it. Fucking legend. The reason the character isn't lame, I don't think he's anything super special, but the reason he's interesting at all and that he's not lame, same as, like, you know, Ironmonger. Robert Redford just totally sells it.
Yeah.
He totally sells it, and, like...
That scene where he's talking to Cap and just, like...
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if he actually talked to
Nick
or not.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking chilling. Just how he slowly, like, changes his tone.
Mm-hmm.
It's
throughout the course of the conversation.
Yeah.
You can really see him feeling him out. You know, where he's just like, you know, he's given the pretty obvious villain speech and, like, seeing if Cap is going to go for it, saying, like, you know, sometimes in order to build a better world, you got to tear the old one down, and that requires getting your hands dirty. And some people dare to call you a villain for that or something. And you can see that he's clearly trying to give him his sales pitch, but he's not going all in yet. He's just trying to feel him out. And he adds so much to the scene by, like, just progressively getting... Because he could just be in full bad guy mode the whole way through. But he knew, because he's a legend.
It's a slow process.
He knew to, like, you know, gradually get there. And by the end, he just fully kind of lets his guard down. He's like, Captain... Somebody killed my friend. I'm going to find out who. Anybody who gets in my way, they're going to regret it. Anybody. And he's like, understood. You know? That he makes it so much more interesting just through the strength of his performance. Because his motivations are fairly simple. Like, we've seen this done before. And, like, Minority Report and Star Trek. Like, so many things have done the whole, should we kill... just a few people so it could save a lot of people, that whole thing. But it was still a fairly, not a boring thing. I don't think it was super interesting.
Right.
But again, when Robert Redford is saying it, you're paying attention.
Yeah. I sure as hell did.
Yeah, and they made a wise choice by not putting too much focus on it, because it's like they're like, we get it. You've seen this before. We're just gonna have this be his thing, but not have it be too over explained.
Right.
So yeah, that worked. I think each of the characters in this movie had so much depth and had really good stories throughout the film. Cap, obviously, trying to make it in the modern world, trying to be Captain America while also working in the confines of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yes.
which is kind of restrictive for him. Black Widow, who's also kind of just dealing with her own shit, who's like, well, I thought I was doing good, but it turns out I was working for the people I was trying to stop,
right.
and her learning how to trust Steve more because she's not very good with trust. Fury, again with the trusting thing and his whole relationship with Cap, I think, and Black Widow gets a lot deeper in this one. Bucky with his whole thing.
Yeah, trust was actually a big theme in this movie.
Watching it. Yeah. I guess I never realized that until this moment. And then them trusting Sam.
Yeah.
And him, his arc about just being this ordinary guy who now is being trusted by Captain America to fight alongside him, and him being brought into the fold.
Right.
That was cool, and that was an arc that we would explore a lot more with each movie. Everybody's got their thing, and it's really cool. The Russos are really good at that.
Yes.
They're really good at making sure each character has their thing and isn't just there, just to eat up the screen.
Right.
They're there for a reason, and they all are going to have a purpose. And that was what this one was really good about. And yeah, super fantastic action, the fight scene on the bridge. One of the greatest fucking action scenes in all of the MCU. Unfucking believable. The fucking part where they're chasing Fury in the car.
Yes.
Unfucking believable. The whole final fight, unfucking real.
Yes.
Just all of it was amazing. Yeah. It was, and the stakes, fucking Sebastian Stan, who I know is the internet's daddy at this moment. So you'll appreciate, all of you folks out there, me praising Sebastian Stan here.
Yeah.
Some of his best, if not his best acting in any of these movies was, it was such a subtle scene, but it was when he's got Steve down, and he's punching the crap out of him. Just his face throughout that entire scene, and the way you can see the struggle and the conflict and all that. It's so subtle, but to me, that's his best acting in any of these movies. Every time I watch that, you can so see and feel the turmoil in him in that moment, just how conflicted he looks, how fucked up in the head he is at that point, and he's trying to fight it. He's starting to remember, but he's trying to stick to his programming.
Right.
And, that's also a great scene for Cap. I'm with you till the end of the line.
Yeah. And the more things that really sell me on Cap is he was willing to die in that moment, in the hope that Bucky would remember him.
Yeah, he was willing to go down with the ship just to make sure, and that's Cap.
Yeah. Loyalty.
Yeah, it's an important quality.
He's a real soldier, man.
Yes, and it's just Winter Soldier slaps. One thing I didn't care for, one thing in this movie I didn't care for, was them making Sitwell a Hydra agent. I didn't like that because, first of all, his death shocked the fuck out of me. That I remember, I'll never forget for the rest of my life, watching that movie in the theater, Winter Soldier just ripping through the car and throwing him onto the freeway. I'm not kidding. For 5 minutes after that, I was still just in total shock. They just killed Sitwell! Holy shit! Because I was so happy he was finally getting a huge part in one of the movies.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, there's a reason, because this is his last one. But I just didn't like how they made him a Hydra agent, because that wasn't in keeping with his character for me. Because he just, there was a one-shot, back when they were still doing the one-shots. where it was about him, and it was about these two guys, these two criminals, who were like robbing places because they were poor and they needed money. It was like sort of like they didn't want to do it, but they kind of just didn't have any other choice. Excuse me. And he was kind of sent in to deal with them, and instead of arresting them, he made them SHIELD agents. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find it believable that guy was a Hydra agent, you know? Right. I didn't buy that. I thought that was just like a really kind of bizarre, not great choice. Ultimately, I got over it, but I still just wish they would have done that differently.
Yeah.
You know? But that's like the only negative I've got. You know?
The movie's still really fucking good.
The movie slaps.
The psychology is really good. The action's really good. It's well paced.
Mm-hmm.
And you believe in the story. You want Bucky to free his mind. You want Cap to fucking not go to the dark side. You want Nat to figure out where she is. Like, it's a very fucking cool. And then you want Nick Fury to stop being so much of a hard ass.
Right.
So it's like all these different things. You're investing in these characters, and it's a big continuation of those things. It's almost like the beginning of what can be considered a family dynamic, which is something that is very well portrayed in the next movie, Guardians of the Galaxy.
You want to talk about one of the absolute best,
dude?
Oh my god!
So this movie is so fucking beloved.
I know, and
there's
a good reason for it.
We can go in so many different ways, so many different orders, but like what I want to start off with was the fact that Vin Diesel is the voice of Groot. Like, that's so fucking random. He says three words.
It's amazing.
They didn't have to get Vin Diesel.
No, they did not.
But they're like, fuck it, we want Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel has done like 4 movies now.
We need Dom to say, I am Groot.
He has done 4 fucking movies where he got paid millions of dollars to say, I am Groot, over and over again. That man he's riding high. He's riding fast and he's riding furious.
He could have said those lines on his fucking phone and sent it into them.
But that's the thing I love about it. He really committed to not just saying the words. He really committed to like putting emotion behind each inflection, like getting the inflections right. And he actually had a Groot script where he was the only one that read it, where he knew everything that Groot was saying and none of the rest of them did. So that helped him out a lot.
That's actually super sick.
And he actually also did all of the international dub versions.
Yo, that's so cool.
Yeah, because it's only 3 words.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna learn what those 3 words are in like every language and just do them all. You know. So the man commits.
Yeah.
Don't ever say my boy Dominic Toretto is not fucking committed.
Yeah.
To the character. But yeah, it's not even random though, because this isn't even the first time he's gotten a paycheck for barely saying anything. He was the Iron Giant.
Shit, you're right.
This is his thing.
Damn.
He like voices characters who don't talk much. And he
voice.
nails it every time.
Yeah, Iron Giant and Groot both are like such emotional characters.
Yeah. Who have very, spoiler alert for Iron Giant, very sad.
Yes.
Very sad ends.
Oh shit, yeah, you're right. Damn. He was a perfect choice.
Yeah, and he was foreshadowing, because he was Superman.
Yeah, shit.
Foreshadowing the comic shit.
Yeah.
It was always in his destiny. But yeah, you want to talk about like one of the best cast movies in the whole MCU.
Yeah.
Absolutely everyone. This is an ensemble movie. Mm-hmm. This is a great ensemble movie. Everyone has a purpose. Everyone's there for a reason. They all fit perfectly. This fucking movie, you think it's bizarre that they took fucking Vin Diesel and made him a tree? They made fucking Bradley Cooper a wisecracking raccoon. And they took Chris fucking Pratt.
Yes.
Made him a buff-ass movie star. The fucking chubby guy from Parks and Rec became a buff-ass movie star.
Yeah.
Like,
Chris Pratt's hot.
Like, what the... like, what the fuck, man? They took Dave fucking Bautista.
The world heavyweight champion.
And turned him into a movie star. Not only that, they made him like arguably the most enjoyable person in the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
We all, to this day, love Drax with all our hearts.
Drax is so incredible, dude. He's so funny.
I know. He is the greatest, and it's amazing to me how good, considering he wasn't really an actor, he was a wrestler, considering how good his comedic sensibilities were and are.
Yes.
I can't believe like how naturally he fit into that role.
Dude, as somebody who grew up watching Batista on wrestling, like, I never got to see this much personality in him. So, like, just seeing him be, like, just blossom on the screen and nail this character in Drax and just, who's like this hulking idiot, but, like, also he's just so lovable.
Right.
And he's unintentionally funny.
Right.
Like, it's so good.
I know. Thank you, James Gunn, for giving us movie star Dave Batista.
Yes.
We appreciate him more and more with each passing day. And yeah, everybody's there to do their thing, and boy, can Zoe Saldana just flex on everybody.
Oh, God.
Because she went from being the blue person in the highest grossing movie of all time to the green person in the highest grossing movie of all time.
I know.
And she's still in the top fucking 2.
Yes.
She's in the top fucking like 4 or 5, because Infinity War is still up there too.
Yep.
Man, she can just fucking flex on everybody.
That's so much fucking money.
And like that's the thing, is like going into one of the things that makes this movie so great is the character dynamic between the Guardians and the way they all work together. Mm-hmm. They all bring something to the table. And people always used to say, and maybe they still do say this, I don't know, that Gamora was always the least interesting one. And I guess by default, but that doesn't mean she's not interesting.
Right.
Like, she's still a very invaluable part of the team, because ask yourself this, going into Guardians 3, do you want to see Guardians 3 without her? I bet you don't.
Nah, not me.
It totally changes the dynamic. Everyone is there and everyone contributes their own thing. You need a straight man. That's basically what she is. Mm-hmm. You know, without the straight man, then you just got a bunch of fucking, goofy ass, like, she's the one who kind of kept them centered.
Yeah, she grounds them.
And
Plus, she's clearly the most badass of them.
I mean, obviously, yeah.
Like, it's no fucking question.
And yeah, she's just cool, you know?
Fuck.
She's cool as fuck. And she's got, like, an interesting backstory with, like, being Thanos' daughter and all that. Her whole family drama thing, I think, is pretty interesting. Granted, we hadn't gotten into that much at this point. Yeah. But I still think that always added an interesting layer to her character. And I always just loved it. She was the one who just, like, rolled her eyes at all the other ones. She's like, I'm going to die surrounded by the biggest idiots in the galaxy. Like, you need someone like that there.
Exactly.
And Zoe Saldana brought a lot to it. And I think, like, everyone did, like, fucking the world's greatest human being, John C. Reilly, brought so fucking much to his character. I don't believe anybody's 100% a dick, man. He's the greatest human being in the world. I love him so much. And then even the smaller people, I cannot believe they got fucking Glenn Close to be in this movie.
Super fucking
and have
random.
8 fucking lines.
Yeah!
It's unreal.
What a flex from Marvel.
I know. They're like, we got Glenn Close, and she only said 8 lines.
Yeah, no big deal, whatever.
You thought we were stopping at Robert Redford. Oh, we got Glenn Close. We're going to get Michael Douglas later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was great. My motherfucking main man, Benicio del Toro, I love him so fucking much. I'm so happy he was in this. And like, each of them brought something to the table, even if they only had 8 lines like Glenn Close.
Right.
They each contributed something, because that's what an ensemble movie is. And that's what this was. And even getting into one of the movie's weaker aspects, Ronan, still one of the worst MCU villains to date.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. For what he was done well.
Yes.
He was not a very good villain. He didn't have any interesting things about him. He was just the bad guy. But you know what? That's all he needed to be to me. Mm-hmm. He served his purpose.
He was a plot device.
He was the guy who they have to stop.
Yes.
And, Lee Pace did a good job playing that.
Right.
You needed someone to do it. That was your guy. And he got a couple funny lines in there. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, he had a couple moments in there. But, and the most, to this day, we've seen her so many times at this point, but the most shocking one to me, the most shocking transformation was Karen Gillan as Nebula. I still can't believe that that's her.
Yeah.
She's under so many prosthetics, and her fucking voice sounds so different.
Yeah.
And she's always been, ever since that first one of the best performers in those Guardians movies, So she crushed it. And oh my god, you want to talk about good humor in these movies? This has some of the funniest fucking jokes out of any of the movies. It is so... Because that was the thing. This was billed as like the first MCU comedy. Like straight comedy. And it was so fucking funny.
Nothing goes over my head.
Oh my god. See, Drax was responsible for like 80% of the humor.
I would catch it.
And it was so fucking great. What does this mean around... Like, that's the symbol for you're dead. Like, the hand around... Why would I put my hand around my neck? Yeah, God. So many funny jokes. And... Which did not come through in the sequel, but we'll get through to that later.
Yeah, we'll get there.
And, you know, it helps that you got a lot of, like... comedy, like Chris Pratt, who had a background in comedy, who was able to deliver the jokes so well, and it looked great. James Gunn, I'm not entirely sure about him as a writer. We'll get into that later, but he has a keen eye for visuals.
Yes.
This is one of the best looking movies in all of the MCU to me.
Yeah, the use of color is very good.
Yes, he directed it very well. He knew how to use color. He knew, like, again, incredible production design. Like, you know, it looks so great, and I think, like, the designs of the aliens, of the spaceships, just the way everything looks, it was so cool. The collector's little, you know, museum, I thought looked pretty cool. Xandar looked visually interesting.
Yes.
Nowhere was a really cool thing.
Yes.
And, yeah, I think he had such a keen eye for like... all of that, and that was a part of what made it so cool, was it looked so visually interesting and so eye-popping, you know?
So like we were talking about earlier, whimsy is very important.
Yeah, especially in the more cosmic movies like this and like Thor, you know, you gotta project the grand, you know, image that you're going for. And that they did that very well in this one. It's so well-rounded.
The soundtrack is fucking amazing.
The soundtrack slaps. Fucking awesome mix.
That shit's so good.
Absolutely amazing. I still listen to a lot of those songs.
As you should.
And they, really, really just... That was one of those really just kind of lightning in a bottle movies where it was one of those rare movies where they just hit every single beat exactly right. You know, you knew, or you should have known when you saw that, like the Avengers, like Iron Man, it was going to be really hard to recapture that feeling.
Right.
You know, because everything just happened to go right.
You also got to keep in mind too, like, I don't know about you and most people, but like when Guardians came out, I was like, who the fuck are these guys?
No, I was the same way, and I know my comic shit. Okay.
Right.
I had no fucking idea who these guys were. I remember when they announced this on the slate, I was like, who the fuck are these guys? And why are we getting a movie about them before Doctor Strange or Black Panther or Ant-Man? Yeah. Like, what the fuck? But then the movie came out, and I was like, okay, so this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, easily.
This is like easily one of the best ones I've seen. I love this.
Right.
Like, actually. Oh my god, also, holy fuck, Michael Rooker.
Yo!
My fucking guy. And you see, at the time... I just knew him as Merle from The Walking Dead. And I'm watching the movie, and he's blue.
Fucking young.
And I'm like, Blue Merle. I'm like, what the fuck? It's Merle, but he's blue. He's got a fin on his head. What? That's weird. But it was super awesome.
Yondu has one of the sickest weapons.
His fucking arrow thing?
Yeah.
The sickest fucking weapon,
dude,
man.
That shit is so goddamn cool.
Insta-kill.
Like,
it's amazing.
The skill that it takes to like hit certain notes, because you see, like, he has incredible control over it. Yeah. He can make it like go like miles an hour, but like stop right in front of you, and like the way he just like massacred like a bunch of people. I was just like, holy shit!
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's fucking amazing. And yeah, just man, there are just so few negatives in this one.
Right.
Like. It was just so good. Like, really, this one was so just all around great. It did everything right. It was, like, hilarious. It had tons of charm, tons of heart, interesting characters. Just, it was really well paced.
Yes.
Like, the scene where they all come together when they're fighting over the orb, they're all introduced so well to each other. They're all introduced, like...
And it felt natural, too.
Very natural.
Which is rare to do.
The way that they all came together. See, take note, Suicide Squad. The way they came together and became a family, it was so natural. It wasn't forced. It wasn't like we're forced to be together, and in the span of 2 hours, I'm calling you my family.
Right.
Like Suicide Squad just was so just trying to rip this fucking thing off. Like they actually went through a lot, and they bonded, and they were a unit by the end of it. They all held hands and fucking grabbed an Infinity Stone together. That's a bonding experience, you know? And that's why it really worked. But yeah, it was super dope. That movie, still one of the best, which is not exactly what I would say about the next one.
Oh Lord, I would like to say before we get into this, it was a movie.
I suppose, yes, in the technical sense.
I think we are nearing the 2-hour mark.
So we're probably, I knew I was going to have to do this. This is probably going to be a 2-part episode.
Right.
I knew we were going to be sitting here talking forever. So yeah.
There's that knowledge.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind. You probably already know this because you clicked on the video and it said part 1. But yeah, so anyway.
Next movie is Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah. This one.
The follow-up to Marvel's The Avengers, obviously.
Yes.
It's next movie. Ultron is the main villain. It is a continuation. It's another ensemble movie. We got the gang together again. You know, all your favorites. Yeah, it's Iron Man, it's Cap, it's Hawkeye, it's Hulk, it's Black Widow. And I'm trying to pump myself up about this one. Of fucking Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch ends up being one of my favorites as time goes on.
Same.
Quicksilver, I think, was cool. I wish he had more time, but like whatever. But like,
yeah. Here's a little insight. The thing about this one, okay. So first of all, just get this out of the way right off the bat. God, do I even have the energy to talk about this one? I could go like Captain America. Normally, I could do this all day, but God, I don't know if I have the energy. This one is one of the worst to me.
right.
Boy, you want to talk about one of the biggest examples of dropping the fucking ball.
Another movie I barely remember.
Yeah, understandably. It was not very memorable. I Phantom Menace the fuck out of this one. The first time I saw it, I was trying to convince myself so much. Yeah, no, that one was great. It was so, like, maybe there were a couple things in there, but, like, it was so great. It was awesome. And then it really didn't take that long for me to realize, like, that wasn't very good. It was actually kind of a mess. Mm-hmm. And then as time went on, I was like, I don't care for this one very much. And here's the thing about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Originally, neither of them were supposed to be in the movie. Their role was supposed to be filled by Captain Marvel, which makes complete sense in hindsight because that's why Scarlet Witch has all the lines and Quicksilver only has like 7 fucking lines in the whole movie.
Didn't see that coming.
Because and 4 of them are that. Because Joss Whedon just added him in there. It was just supposed to be one character. And it was clearly just like he switched out Captain Marvel for Scarlet Witch. And then he's like, well, I gotta have Quicksilver in there, so I'll throw him in and he'll say, didn't see that coming. And he'll have like 6 more lines and that's it. So yeah, that seems pretty clear in hindsight. I wish he would have done more with Quicksilver because, boy, you want to talk about a death I didn't give a fuck about. Not since Iron Man 3 did I not give a shit about a character dying the way I didn't give a fuck about Quicksilver dying. And I always thought it was a shame he never got to, be more developed in later movies. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, in this movie, I did not give a fuck about Scarlet Witch or Vision.
Right.
I didn't care about either of them because I didn't think they were done very well. They were just add-ons. I was like, whatever. I don't fucking care about either of you. But eventually, Scarlet Witch, because of the Russo brothers, because it's their job to fucking clean up everybody else's messes, they made her one of the best and most interesting characters. And I just think it's a shame that Quicksilver never got that same treatment.
Right.
Because I would have loved to have seen what they would have done with him, too, you know? But at least we got one of them, you know? And if I'm going to pick between the two, I think she's the one I would have picked anyway.
Yeah, clearly.
But, yeah.
Especially since Quicksilver, like, exists elsewhere.
Right, like, the X-Men are doing fine with him already.
Yes.
But this one is so just... You can so tell Joss Whedon just crumbled under the pressure. Like, we know as much. We know this movie broke him. He hasn't done a movie, if you don't count Justice League, since this. It broke him. You watch the fucking behind the scenes for this movie. You watch the behind the scenes, like, director's commentary for the Avengers, and he is so excited and full of life, and he's just like, yeah, well, the really cool thing about this was I really liked doing this, and this was a really great scene, and then this one he's like, so in this scene... this is where this happened, and yeah, that was an interesting shooting day. So yeah, let's just watch the movie for a little bit here while I think about the next thing to say. He was very burnt out, and you can tell because it's amazing. You can see the moment in the script. You can see the actual moment where it starts to go downhill. To me, the first half hour is actually pretty solid. The opening scene was great. Mm-hmm. The party scene I thought was great. It was the moment where it should have gotten really interesting, which is where it fell apart, which is when they introduced Ultron. From that moment on, you could tell he was like, he didn't know where to take it. He didn't know what to do. I could literally just see him at his computer writing this, and I could see the exact moment where he started to struggle, you know? And that's one of the key problems is, first of all, he couldn't handle the pressure. Excuse me. He was trying so hard. He had so much pressure on him to make it as good as the first one or have it live up to it. And then also, you know, another key problem is they made him cut it down by like a half hour, which I think hurt it a lot. It was originally running at like 3 hours, and they were like, we can't do 3 hours. Let's just cut it down to 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Right.
And you could feel it.
Yeah.
Because the first Avengers felt like a 2-hour movie that was told in 2 hours.
Right.
This felt like a 3-hour movie that was told in 2 hours and 30 minutes. You know, you could definitely tell that the pacing was off and some things were missing. I remember watching this for the first time when they finally got to the final Sokovia fight. I was like, are we at the end already? The pacing feels very off here. It feels like we have a while to go. And then one of the key problems for me, man, when we were like waiting for this one, when we were getting the trailers and all that shit, I was convinced that Ultron was going to be the new Loki. I was like, he's going to be perfect.
He's going to break the curse.
I know, no, like, seriously, I was like, he's going to be the new Loki. He's going to be amazing, because in the comics, Ultron is one of the most feared villains. He's like the Avengers' most feared enemy, besides like Thanos and Loki, and he's just like, this is the guy, you know, who's going to finally beat Loki. One of the absolute worst, most insufferable villains in the MCU to date. They made him a sarcastic quit bot. And I swear, if I, in my entire life, hear one more person, when I say that, respond with, well, it makes sense why he's sarcastic, because he was made by Tony Stark. I don't fucking care. Like, yeah, there's a reason, but he still doesn't need to be that way.
Right.
I mean, who gives a shit?
Plus, Tony Stark is more than just quips.
I mean, that's a big part of him, but he is more than just that. And, like, I don't care. That doesn't mean he has to be that way.
Exactly.
Like, what I was wanting, like, the dialogue that Joss Whedon wrote for Loki, I wanted that for Ultron. The scene where he's, like, antagonizing Black Widow, I wanted that for Ultron.
Right.
I was like, he's going to write the fuck out of him. They got James fucking Spader to play him, who was the perfect choice, who was going to crush it. I knew, like, all the pieces were there. But instead, ask him how long it takes to make an omelet. Like, fuck you. Fucking ridiculous. What is the phrase? Children! It escaped me there for a second. Like, what? What are you doing to him? you know, with the benefit of hindsight, like, shut up. Shut up. And none of them are funny.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So many of the clips in this movie are either just totally unfunny or totally out of place. It's the exact opposite of the Avengers, where everyone was hilarious, everyone was needed. It was never like overdone or forced. Here, not just from Ultron, from everybody. It's just so overdone.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's enough to make you vomit, you know, like legitimately. It's so annoying. And yeah, it's just, it's stupid. And the fucking stupid, out of nowhere, completely bizarre romance between Black Widow and Hulk was
super random.
One of the stupidest fucking things I've ever seen.
And forced.
Totally forced. It's so out of nowhere. I was so happy they never brought that back.
Thankfully.
I was so worried they were going to try to make that a thing again, and they didn't, thank God. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking there. Was there nothing else that the two of them had going on? Because they both had their own individual arcs in the movie, so I don't know why you felt the need to, like, give them that. But whatever. But yeah, like, I don't know. And there was so much, like, because one thing people always complain about in the MCU movies is like, oh, they're all just ways to set up the next one. They're all just commercials for the next one. I disagree. Usually, this is an exception where I do think that's a lot of what this is. They waste a lot of time, like Thor's fucking scene that's really rushed and makes no sense, where he's in the pool. That's literally just to set up Infinity War with the stones. The fucking scene where they're out there chopping the wood, setting up Civil War. Yeah. There's so many fucking scenes where it's all just setting shit up, and I'm like, you don't need to do this.
Right.
Like, you can handle this so much better, you know? And then, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is back randomly. I don't know what that's about. He just shows up in the helicarrier, and I'm like, well, I thought S.H.I.E.L.D. was gone, but whatever. And don't tell me Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon, because it's not. There's no secret S.H.I.E.L.D. Fucking Coulson is dead. Fuck off. That's my only mention of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this whole thing. There you go. There you go. We're not going to talk... That's me talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 10 seconds. Colson is dead. Fuck off. It's not canon. What a waste of Ghost Rider. But, yeah. No, this one, legit, just... It's unfortunate. It's one of the biggest examples of wasted potential I've ever seen in a movie. And it's ridiculous, because when you look at all 4 Avengers movies, usually the Avengers movies are some of the biggest standouts. Because they have to be. They're the big event movies.
Right. And
then you got this one.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, all right.
It's the one we don't like to talk about.
Yeah. The one that it's the bastard child of the Avengers franchise. And yeah, I just don't care for it. And there are positive things. Like, the action is competently directed.
Was this the first time we had mention of Wakanda and Vibranium?
Yes, it was. And the first time we saw Claw.
Oh, God, Andy Serkis. I love that man.
God bless.
So fucking great.
God bless Andy Serkis. He is the greatest. And even though he was only in one scene in this, he's totally just owned his scene.
Knocked it out of the park, like he fucking usually does.
Yeah, because he's Andy fucking Serkis. And that's what I'm talking about. That's just more setting up. Like, whoa, Wakanda, Vibranium. Yeah. I'm like, they're just setting more shit up. You know? But yeah. Fucking weird ass doesn't explain how he got the thing in the center of the city. Flying cities and shit.
Right.
But yeah, it had its moments, but overall, yeah, still one of the worst ones. Very unfortunate. Really hated that they wasted Ultron, because he's one of their most formidable foes, and I was really looking forward to. And what a waste of James Spader, honestly.
Right.
He's such a great fucking actor, and he was the perfect choice, and they just gave him nothing but fucking quips. Just a shame. So now on to the end of Phase 2, which would be
Ant-Man, starring the beloved Paul Rudd,
starring the world's one of the greatest human beings who ever lived.
So, another random casting choice, but like most, but
to me,
afterwards, it's fucking perfect.
To me, this was one of the most bizarre casting choices.
Yeah.
To me, it wasn't until Endgame, really, where it registered in my mind that Paul Rudd was Ant-Man. Because to me, this happens with actors sometimes, like Martin Freeman, for instance.
Uh-huh.
To me, there are 2 different Martin Freemans. There's American Martin Freeman and there's British Martin Freeman.
Right.
And I understand that they're the same person, but they're not to me, you know? And some actors are like that. To me, there was always regular Paul Rudd and Ant-Man Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Like, they're not the same person, but I understand that they are. Now that they're the same person for me.
Right.
But for the longest time, because it was so weird, you know? Of all the people in the world, Paul fucking Rudd. But boy, did it pay off.
Yeah.
Because he was perfect.
Yeah.
And now he's like, he was one of the breakouts of Endgame, you know?
Yes.
So, and we all love him to death now. He's more popular than he's ever been thanks to these movies.
Right.
Thanks to Ant-Man.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, like, in the other movies, and, like, we'll get into that later, but, like, Ant-Man is, like, us. Because he's just geeking out over the fact that he's one of the heroes.
Basically.
He's like, oh my god, I'm talking to Captain America.
He's just an ordinary schlub, you know?
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, wow, Captain America, you're great. I know who you are. Wow, I'm shaking your hand too long, aren't I?
Exactly.
He's adorable. He's the greatest.
Right.
And that
he was adorable in this movie, too.
And that was the cool thing about this movie. He was the first, like, relatable superhero.
Yes.
The rest of them were, like, billionaires or super soldiers or gods or something.
Yeah.
He's like an ordinary dude who just got a suit.
Yeah.
You know, and he was the first one outside the core Avengers to get his own movie.
Yes.
This was a very important moment, you know, where we started to shift towards the more, like, B-list heroes like Ant-Man. And they were starting to take risks. They were like, well, the general public may not know really who these guys are, but since we're so big, you know, since people are going, they saw a movie with a tree and a raccoon in it, so we're confident that they'll eat this up, and they did. Ant-Man did pretty well, and this one, to me, it's not like a grand big one. It's not like one of the best ones, but to me, this one has so much charm.
Yes.
It's so quaint. I just love this one. It's not trying to be this big movie, and it was such a breath of fresh air. It was just a simple little heist film, you know? It was its own little thing, and no pun intended. Its own little thing. And I love that about it. And it's still so much fun to watch because, and I'm a sucker for heist movies, so maybe I'm a little biased.
Right.
But no, I still think it's really great because you got him, and it's different. Again, he's the ordinary guy who he's not saving the world. He's just trying to pull off a heist. You know, it's not like a big galactic threat. It's just, it is what it is. And I really love the dynamic of the three of them, him and Hope and Hank.
Yes.
I really love the little family they've got going on. And wow, yeah, they really got Michael Douglas to do this. I still can't believe that. Unfucking believable. You had fucking Michael Douglas saying the words Pym particles.
Right.
Fucking the quantum realm. I can't even believe that.
Real things.
But yeah, and this one was very much like, you know, the villain in this one to me was very much just, again, another asshole in a suit, another bad version of the good guy.
Yeah.
I think Corey Stoll did a very good job with it.
Yeah.
Gave it, you know, a lot of personality. Wasn't anything special, but he did what he did.
Yes.
I thought the heist aspect was really exciting. Watching them, because I love Ocean's 11. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, and a big part of the Ocean's movies and any heist movie is the planning stage. The montage where they're planning and shit. He's trying to get through the door and talk to the ants. That was cool.
Right.
I love the thing with, like, you know, the relationship between Hank and Hope and Hank and Yellow Jacket. That was cool.
Yes.
A lot of really good character stuff in there, I thought. And, you know, I know a lot of people would say, oh, it's such a shame we never got Edgar Wright, like his version. But honestly, and this is a hot take, I think Peyton Reed did a really good job. And this is an even hotter take. I'm like the one person on earth who didn't think Scott Pilgrim was that great of a movie. So if that's what he was going to do with it, then maybe it was for the best. I don't know. I love Edgar Wright. He's one of my favorite directors. But if that was what he was going to do with it, then,
right.
You know. But yeah, no, I really think this one was very quaint. It was very, and I don't really feel any sympathy for Edgar Wright. Like I do, because he worked on this project for 10 years, and then he left, and he never got to see his version of it made. But at the same time, like, dude, I don't get, because he left because, like, he didn't want it to be part of a cinematic universe. He just wanted it to be his own thing. And I'm like, it basically is that. Like, you're going to walk off the project that you've been trying to get made for 10 years just because they're asking you to put in a scene with the Falcon? Like, for God's sake, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, just because they want you to name drop Tony Stark in one scene, like, it's not that big a deal. Like, that's why I don't have any sympathy. I'm like, you really just can't handle that? Like, come on. And I thought the Falcon scene was really great.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. It's imperative that Cap doesn't find out about this. Love that shit. And you have to have that scene because that's his connection. That's how he gets into Civil War.
Exactly.
You know? Speaking of which, Phase 3.
Phase 3 begins. However, it is 4:14.
Oh, Lord.
And I have to be at the park at 5:30.
Oh, no!
So, this is actually kind of exciting. We get to do a cliffhanger. We will have to come back to part 2 of the MCU retrospective. There is a lot of stuff to cover, obviously, but like we will come back soon, and we will cover Phase 3.
Yes, we will. But
Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, the Apothecary, for having me on.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell, for showing up. I can't wait to record part 2. I don't know when part 2 will be out. I would like to. I guess there's not really any point unless you're free Friday.
This Friday?
Yeah.
I just might be, actually.
So I can edit this one and then get that one out and release it on Sunday and just have it be like a 2-part weekend event.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
You're listening to me figure this shit out in real time. So it's probably already happened by this point, and you're like, oh, this is when they were deciding they were going to do that.
Yeah.
I've probably already made the announcement on Instagram about it by this point, and you already know.
Right.
But yeah, that'll be super fun. And well, okay, I guess since we're at the end of the episode now, I'm going to do my Apothecary Recommends, where I recommend a movie. I don't have to explain it to you, know it at this point. This week, I'm going to recommend a movie called Hugo, a movie from the one, the only, the GOAT. I didn't even realize how ironic this is. On an episode where we're talking about Marvel, a movie from Martin Scorsese. I didn't realize how truly ironic that was until right now. Yeah, it's from Martin Scorsese, who I'm sure just felt a disturbance in the force that I'm mentioning his name in a Marvel episode. Leave him alone, guys, seriously. But yeah, no. Okay, so Hugo, it is an outstanding movie, and this is like an extremely, extremely hot take here, but fuck it. This is my favorite Martin Scorsese movie. I know that's crazy. I'm not even saying it's his best, but this is my favorite. Which is saying a lot. It is so good. It's about, if you don't know, it's about this kid named Hugo, played by Asa Butterfield, who he's this kid in like 1920s Paris who lives in the walls of a train station. His thing is he like does the clocks all the time, and he like lives secretly in the train station trying to avoid like the child catcher and everything. And his father's dead, and the only thing he left behind is an automaton, which he's trying to fix, and he's trying to figure out like the secrets of it. And they go into this whole adventure where he and Chloe Grace Moretz are both trying to unlock these secrets, and I can't really go into it more without spoiling it. But yeah, it's like an unbelievably good movie. It's so heartwarming. It'll make you smile. It'll really make you just happy. It'll reaffirm your love for movies, because that's a big part of it, is like the character's love for movies and everything. And yeah, it's super great. It's got a really good ensemble cast. Asa Butterfield, Chloe Grace Moretz, Ben Kingsley, Sacha Baron Cohen, Emily Mortimer, so many people. Jude Law is in it for a second. And yeah, it's just such a genuinely great, heartwarming movie. And it's my favorite from him, which is saying a lot. So check that out as soon as you can. I promise you won't regret it.
Word.
So yeah, I guess
Where
that's.
can we find this movie, Jackson?
Hell, I found it on HBO not too long ago, or Stars, or one of the movie channels.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you can find it on Amazon Prime, any streaming place. I guess Google whatever streaming platform it's on if you can't find it on TV. Just find out a way to watch it because it's super great. I heavily recommend it. Really, really sincerely heartwarming. So I guess that's it. And yeah, thanks for listening. Be sure to, this is the part where I got to be a whore. Be sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell and do all that. Follow my Instagram. And follow Timmy's Instagram, which I'll put in the description.
Oh shit, yeah. Timmy Probably, at Timmy Probably. That's where you can find me on Instagram.
Yeah. You got anything to promote, by the way,
Oh,
while we're here?
Currently, no, I don't. But I guess just things that I do. You can follow me on Instagram. I just post so I do make music. All right, I do have a podcast, and I'm actually funny that I'm doing this today. Yesterday, I recorded 3 episodes of podcasts, so I'm going to be getting back into my podcast actually pretty soon. I'm figuring out what platforms I'm going to put it on, but it'll be called Pharotic Audio, Phartic Audio.
There will be a link in the description.
Yes, please, because spelling is hard sometimes. And I'll be doing that. But also, just you can just add me and shit. If you're in the Charlotte area or North Carolina and you play Pokemon Go,
that's where he's on his way to right now.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
That's why we got to cut the episode short.
Yeah, find the group or find me or whatever. You can just kind of find me, do more stuff. And perhaps between now and part 2, I'll have more to promote. But I do know that I am working on my own podcast, and I should be getting that out soon. I think at latest I'll probably start posting it January, but it all depends on how much time I have in the coming weeks to edit because I edited I talked for 3 hours yesterday, like we have today. Yeah. So, you've been doing a lot of talking lately, right? Yeah. So I'll, if I have anything to come out, I'll just do that. But yeah, again, just at Timmy Probably on YouTube as well as SoundCloud to find my music. Yeah, he makes really good music. He's got 2 dope ass mixtapes you should listen to. Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, I have the first one I did is called The Plexiglass Palace. It was in 2016. A classic. Yes, people really, really, really dig that one. So do I. It's really fucking good, actually. Yeah, yes, it is. And then the next one I did was one called Ultra Psi. I dropped it March of 2018. It was a more introspective, emotional, important EP. It's 5 tracks. Plexiglass is around 9. They're both under 40 minutes. So you can listen to that and you're driving around or whatever. So yeah, you can find that on Instagram. You find me on Instagram, SoundCloud, and YouTube. All Timmy Probably. There you have it, folks. That's where you can find him, and you know where to find me. So I guess we're out of this bitch. Peace out. Again, shit. Bye, guys. Take care. What a fitting way to bring it all full circle.